Welcome to NFL Week 6 live reactions.
We're here.
We're here.
We're here.
Live. Hey, everybody.
We're live. Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Not quite rested, dude. I tried to get some sleep last night. I was like, I'm going to go to bed at 2 a.m. All right. And I still woke up this morning and had to work more. So there's a lot going on. Jam-packed slate. Not a great slate. I wouldn't say that.
Not a great slate, but what an interesting outcome.
Interesting slate, saved by the two undefeated teams going down, the NFL was, because otherwise, just not that interesting. I know we're supposed to like get up here and every Monday be like, the NFL's the best thing in the world.
Dude, for a guy who likes rock fights, you're not very rocked up about the best rock
get
fights
there. We'll get
of
there.
The season.
We'll get there. My whole thing is, and I texted this to Nolan last night, you know, like when we were younger, we had all those great quarterbacks that we watched for years growing up. You know, it was Manning, it was Brady, it was Breeze, it's all those guys, Rivers, and
Cutler.
Yeah, Cutler, and they all retired. They matriculated, Kyle, and they made that transition. And now you need guys to step up and be the guys. And I just think when you look at the elite quarterbacks in the NFL right now, the guys that are considered elite over the last couple of years, guys that have had high heights that you were like, this is going to be the guy. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, who obviously is the guy. Joe Burrow, Herbert, less so because he's played well, but all those guys have had trouble this year, and all those offenses are struggling for different reasons, for different periods of time. And if you're sitting down on a Sunday and you're watching the NFL, that void becomes more apparent when all five of them are struggling, relatively speaking.
Like they look pedestrian.
They look pedestrian, and so the slates look kind of like. Your Washington, Atlanta's got to be good. Your Carolina, Miami's have to be good. And I think right now it's interesting with the league. You've got Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, all kind of, gutting it out more than lighting it up. And I think it shows when you watch the NFL on Sunday.
I'm curious, and I don't know much about defensive scheme. Obviously, I just focus on the fat guys that are in front of me lined up, guys that are built like Nate. But as it pertains to secondary, you're talking about quarterback play and relative to their success previously, it seems like these defensive coordinators have sort of figured out some answers. It was an offensive league for a while. And by God, if it doesn't look like a defensive league this past Sunday.
Well, look at it. I mean, like Lamar, new coordinator, right? And I think, Monken's done a good job, but we'll talk about the ways they can get better. Mahomes, obviously, totally different team. Josh Allen had to change coordinators. He played his old coordinator last night, who knows him well. And Jalen Hurts, new coordinator. Like all these offensive coordinators that get jobs elsewhere create voids. And that's why I'm always nervous about, when you do hire a hotshot offensive coordinator with a young rookie QB on a rookie deal, eventually that guy's going to get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
And so there's a big change down the line. So America's teams may or may not be related to this theme at some point in my presentation, but you should start.
You want me to lead this thing off?
Yeah, lead it off.
So when I was getting on an airplane at LaGuardia International Airport yesterday on my way home from my great job at CBS Sports, that other pregame show, I noticed the little pregame scuffle going on. The Browns showed up looking for a fight. You know what I mean? But when you show up looking for a fight, you have to anticipate getting hit. And I don't think they expected to be hit so swiftly and so suddenly and so violently by Trent Williams. And when he showed up, I saw a group of hyenas. Like I was watching Animal Planet.
That's exactly
I saw a group of hyenas go from on the attack, and then they were like,
Yeah, that's exactly right. I turned to the guys and go, look at the hyenas scatter.
Number one, America's team, Trent Williams.
Trent Williams is an America's team.
Because if you're out there and if you're not big enough to fight your own fight, what's more American than calling on a Trent Williams-like attack?
Yeah, that's like the Oppenheimer thing.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, I said it. We'll just hit him with Trent Williams.
Yes.
We'll end the thing.
Okay, so number two, free agents. Last night, watching the Giants and watching the Bills, they were talking about a couple free agent acquisitions, one of which was my old buddy Justin Pugh.
Yeah.
When he announced his university, he said, off the couch.
Yeah, that was good.
Justin, shout out to you. That's awesome. Great presence of mind for when they're like, hey, we got to shoot your Sunday Night Football intro. He was like, I know what I'm going to say.
He's pretty sore right now.
I love Justin. I know he's sore as shit, but shout out to Justin.
Yeah,
hopefully
guy.
he gets a couch. He should get a couch deal.
He
should. Couch
he
deal.
should.
Yeah.
Love sack. Love sack, Justin Pugh.
That's good.
Match made in heaven.
That's good.
Number 3, backup quarterbacks. God, there's a lot of them playing right now. I just listed a couple. PJ, Gardner. We saw Bajan in here. Shout out to Chuck in here for the Green Light
Didn't
podcast.
even know who Bajan was.
Tyrod, Hoyer, Allen, Malik. My God. It's always worth having a good backup quarterback. The more and more I watch these games mid-season, end of the year, you need a guy on roster that's going to be able to come in and win you a game potentially. And there are some teams
They were all close.
There's some teams where it's obvious that they've prioritized that, and there's some that they haven't. So backup quarterbacks, number 3. Number 4, the Detroit Lions. They're 5-1. It's the first time since 2011 that the rebuilding since 1949, Detroit Lions have found their way into the 5.
They've been building since 1949. People are walking by the Lions like, when are they going to finish this?
It's like New York City.
There's
just scaffolding everywhere.
There's a hotel in Charlottesville. It's been there 20 years. It's just scaffolding. It's just like the bones of this hotel. It's the Landmark Hotel.
It's a cool looking spot.
People walk by. I used to climb it and after the bars and go stand up on the 5th story and look at the city, but it's never been completed. The Lions.
Now, I make fun of the Lions to say this. My God, I love this team.
Yeah.
I love their identity. I love the way they play the game offensively and defensively. 350 total offense every game.
Yeah.
That is a unit that thrives on just punishing people up front and making them pay on the back end when they get nosy. Number 4, Detroit Lions. Number 5, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
The Kingslayers, okay? The guys who made Brock Purdy look
Pedestrian.
human, okay? Brock Purdy lost his first game as a starter, a game that and a finisher, I would say. But I will say this, Brock did get him down there. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But the Cleveland Browns, potentially the best defense in the National Football League.
Yeah, that defense should be the America's team.
America's team, Jim Schwartz defense.
Yeah, man. Shout out to
my
Schwartz.
old college roommate, Rodney McLeod.
Yeah, Hot Rod's out there.
Juan Thornhill was involved in the fight.
Wahoo
out there.
Yeah.
I like Juan.
I should hit Rod up and be like, did you hear Trent coming? Did you hear the footsteps? Or was it just a total
Who
shot?
went flying?
Yeah, somebody went flying, and then one of the DBs like saw the other DB fly by him.
It was so bad.
And was like, oh, shit.
And you can hear Dad in the background because it was Fox's coverage of pregame.
Oh, you hear Dad?
And I will say, number 6, America's
They
team,
have to-
Fox NFL Sunday.
for sure.
Love those guys. But you can hear Dad in the background going, ho!
Oh!
Ho! Ho!
Yeah.
Bodies are flying.
Yeah.
Debo's coming.
Yeah.
They had a Fox NFL Sunday was on SNL. I don't know if you guys saw
Yes.
it.
Was
I
it?
saw that.
Yeah, Mikey
played
Day.
Dad?
Mikey Day. He
I gotta get
he
him
had
a
done it a
jersey.
couple times before, but
Okay.
the flat top was looking good.
Okay, good.
Forearms aren't the same size.
I'm going to get him a jersey.
Good.
We have stage managers and stuff that work
Yeah.
on SNL. They work on our show on Sunday.
Oh, you gotta get 'em,
So I
yeah.
have an in-between there.
Yeah. All right. America's teams. I don't have 5. Number 1, 72 Dolphins. Every year. Larry Zonka. I think he tweets. Does Larry Zonka have an X machine? And he fires it up every time somebody loses, the
got a
undefeated team
BlackBerry.
loses. So 72 Dolphins, definitely America's team.
Quick
for
question
me.
on that.
Yeah.
Not to throw it off. So with bets, if you had the Eagles or the 49ers to be the last team undefeated, who wins? Is it because of the time slot?
I think they got to give it to the 4 p.m.
Wow.
Okay,
in my
okay,
opinion.
okay.
The Eagles are the last undefeated team in the league.
You got to take
Okay.
time of game into account when you make the bet.
I don't know that Vegas sees it that way, but that's the way I see
That's a
it.
great point.
Okay.
Okay, number 2, Washington, Kyle. I'm sorry, UW.
Oh, not the city.
Yeah. UW.
Penix.
Michael Penix Jr. This is a guy tore his ACL twice at Indiana. He's been in college football. What feels like, I mean, he was there before the pandemic.
He was at Indiana.
He was at
He was-
Indiana.
And
He
Indiana
was
just
so
watching
good.
him like, damn.
Yeah, and a guy that everybody seems to like and be happy for when he gets his kind of, late in his college career. Gino had to wait 7-8 years to have his moment.
He didn't write back.
While Penix was good, he didn't write back either.
He could sling that
And
rock.
he's having like a Heisman Trophy year.
And he had his Heisman moment.
And honestly, for a charter Pac-12 member, 1915, when they started the Conference of Champions, before Bill Walton was a twinkle in his dad's eye. Okay, this team was a part of the thing, and this is the swan song for the Pac-12. I think they got as good a shot as anybody. I mean, the road is tough. They play a couple more tough teams: Oregon State, Utah, USC. But this team's got a little magic to them, Kyle, and I'm actually pulling for them to win the whole thing behind Penn State.
Are you saying his name right?
Michael Penix.
Are you saying his name? Did you see Desmond Howard?
What, Michael Penis? What did he say? What did he say?
He was like chanting, leaning in a chair, and I think it was supposed to be Penix, and he's saying penis.
No, he's
penis.
not. No, he's not.
I promise.
Desmond Howard, all time great.
Oh, he's amazing. He's amazing. Okay, so last one here, second to last one. Underbetters yesterday. I gave out 3 unders from the river this week. I was sitting in my pumpkin. They needed picks. I said, Macon hates it when I pick unders, but I know how to spot the unders. 3 unders, 3-0, and on the Sunday, underbetters would have been 11-2.
Wow.
Okay, including Sunday night where Chase Long was out and about. I was struggling, dude. I was down big, like Kyle was down a scooter, like not maybe one of those Lime
motorized
scooters,
or batterized?
like a motorized, like.
Is batterized a word?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It should be a word. If something's motorized, why would it be able to be batterized?
Yeah, it's a good question, Kyle.
Fuck off,
But
Merriam-Webster.
whatever it was, I needed a win last night, and I just put the house. I'm talking about the house on the under in Buffalo, and that was the easiest watch of all time. I saw a guy at the bar the other night. I was at Dirty Nelly's, and this guy was like, "Hey, big fan of the show. You got any picks this weekend?" I was like, "Well, you didn't watch the fucking game or the pod the other day because I gave them out." And I said, under. He's like, "Why do you bet unders?" I was like, "Really? It's a really enjoyable experience if you know it's an under early. I think it's more enjoyable than any other type of bet. I'm a big rock fight fan. We talked about the quarterbacks earlier. I was chilling.
So you loved seeing Tyrod making that check for a run.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful.
Loved that.
I already felt like it was in hand, but that was like, yeah, the big ups to Tyrod Taylor. So underbetters 11-2. And then lastly, I had to throw this one in, the Green Light Pumpkin team. I want to tip my cap to y'all. I think we're going to talk about it more on a pod later this week, but one of the hardest things I've ever done, we went 38.25 miles in a 950-pound pumpkin. Now, you might ask...
It was you.
Yeah, I did
Matt and I were sitting in chairs on boats next to you.
I'm trying to give credit
we didn't
to
have
the
a
squad.
problem.
You guys saved my life possibly a couple
We literally
times.
sat for 12 hours. You kneeled, squeezed abs. You did a workout.
So I played 24 hours in a pumpkin.
You were kneeling in there?
Bro, it's not like it's a sidecar in a motorcycle.
You couldn't go crisscross applesauce?
Dude, I was on my knees with my heels behind me and my toes curled against the back of the pumpkin in a cross.
Garbage can cold tub. You know how you get in there.
Dude, it was the worst. It's way worse than a garbage can cold tub. I mean, like, I got dumped in the river, damn near got hypothermia. It was 40 degrees out.
Is that cold?
Reed had to build a fire for me.
You should have just stayed at Dirty Nelly's.
We dealt with rocks. We saw snakes. We saw nutria out there.
Nutria.
Eagles. There were like 10 eagles flying around.
Nutria is like a
River
beaver-looking thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a dog food.
Yeah, well, yeah. It does.
I think it is.
Yeah. But we saw a few of those jokers. It ended.
Wow.
Basically, long story short, the record last week, 2 weeks ago, the reason I set out to do this thing was to beat Dwayne Hansen in Missouri. It was nothing personal. He actually inspired me. He went in a pumpkin called Cinderfella for 38 miles on the Missouri River. We decided, I have no idea why, to go to the Delaware River. Now this is like cruising USA on tough, Kyle. It's like going to Paris or something. We dealt with rocks, we dealt with rapids, and ultimately we ended up on day 2 just $1 short because we sprung a leak in the pumpkin. I'm bilging it. It was a disaster, but we had 2 miles left.
You're pumping water out of the pumpkin while you're floating down the river.
Yeah, I'm pumping, I'm paddling, I'm paddling.
Praying.
I'm praying, Kyle. If there's anybody out there, if God cares about a guy in a pumpkin, I was like, let me try the service center.
He got mad at you because you met him on the James River and you didn't do the pumpkin float on the James River.
Exactly. That's where I met God, was the James River. So we went up to Delaware. And so we had a mile left, Kyle. And to be as short as I can on this thing, because a lot of you just care about football. But we saw this bridge up ahead, and we were like, if we get through this bridge, we have a half mile left. The sun's going down. We have a leak in the pumpkin. We've been in this thing 24 hours. Me and Reed, especially. Matt was like, maybe we should pull off, guys. And me and Reed looked at each other like, no, fuck no. We're going for this thing. We're going out in a blaze of glory. So we had no idea what was under the bridge. As we got close to the bridge, it's pitch black, and we started hearing like 64. You know, like we heard like cars.
Yeah.
But it's not a bridge with cars.
Yeah.
It's a viaduct, Kyle. And so we get close and we hear these rapids. We don't know which span to go under.
Viaduct.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck it is. It's like Roman times.
No, it's like yeah. It's
Uh.
like getting water across a river on a bridge. Yeah. It's
So
like a little walkway.
We get under that thing, Kyle, and the waves start coming over the top of this pumpkin. It's already a half full fish tank, and I start sinking. And I grab onto Reed's kayak for dear life because we're about to go into a washing machine in the dark. I have no idea what's under this bridge. Branches, rocks. We're moving 10, 12 miles an hour through this thing. I grab Reed's kayak. He goes in. And we basically cling to this kayak for dear life, and happy to get off the river with my health.
Did the pumpkin explode through the whole thing?
I don't know where the pumpkin is.
I went and played Meadow Creek on Saturday. I'm walking around the clubhouse. I'm walking to the first tee, and this guy just walks up and he's like, "Hey, where's the pumpkin?
We don't
Where'd
know.
you leave the pumpkin?"
We don't know, and we don't care.
Nutria's eating
and honestly, you know, when I called my kids and they looked, I was like, "Hey guys, I didn't get it, but I'm alive." They looked disappointed, and they had made me this trophy that says, you know, Guinness Book of World Records.
Wow.
You know, like one of these growing up trophies, like a bowling trophy with the pumpkin on top. And every time I look at it in the kitchen now, that's the only thing that brings me shame. Otherwise, I am zero.
We got to
ashamed.
go break this thing.
I could.
I'll go with you.
I could break it on the Missouri. Not to like down any of my Midwestern dudes in this,
go.
but like the Missouri is a long, straight, fast river. These guys were off in 11 hours, silt bottom, the whole thing. This was carnage, dude.
Jeez.
So one of the hardest things I ever did. Shout out to Reed. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to all the
They're
guys who came
system
up.
floaters in Missouri.
Yeah,
I got an America's team.
system floaters. Yeah,
I got one America's team.
yeah.
We're gonna go with Air
I'm
Force.
Garrett Wilson in New York.
We're gonna go with Air Force,
Yeah.
which no one is talking about. The Air Force Falcons,
Yeah.
who are in Colorado right now, arguably the best team in Colorado. The Broncos suck. I'm sorry, Prime. He needs another year. He's still taking it personal. But our
Welcome
Air
to the
Force,
party.
listen, Air Force, they are 6-0, head in the Mountain West, and no
Yeah.
one's talking about them.
That's true. Nobody's talking about them. Extra
Except for us last
disrespectful.
week on America's team.
Because they're the troops. They're the troops. Shout out to Air Force. Did we talk about them last week? You did. You did? Did you?
That's why I'm laughing. I thought he was trolling me.
No, he's not trolling you. But it's good to talk about them some more.
Gotta
Okay.
keep talking about them. They're
They're still
undefeated.
good.
And real fast, we want to lay out the rest of the show. We've got a special guest,
Yeah.
11:45. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be insider info, Dianna Russini.
Yep. So we're gonna get some
I
inside.
love Dianna.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get some inside info on
Right before our
all
Miller
the
Lite
trades,
moments.
the
Who's
whole
getting
thing.
better at fridge talks?
Who is?
Dianna.
She does fridge
Well,
talk.
she's doing kitchen talk. She's doing.
Is she doing kitchen
She,
talk?
she sent us a video a few
We
weeks
got to
ago.
talk to her.
She was
about
under the
that.
table. She was like, "I'm
Right?
cleaning up meatballs under the
Yeah.
table. I just
Yeah.
want to give you guys
She
a
was
shout
like, I
out."
see
Well, I
you
got
guys
the
go
fridge.
with the casual video
Just stay
Yeah.
away from the fridge,
that
Dianna.
shows you're a good parent.
Yeah,
In the
yeah, yeah.
background, you can hear like kids and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, you got it.
You got it. You got that. You got that unlocked. Just stay away from the fridge. That's my IP. Okay. All right. So the Eagles. Let's start with the Eagles because we're talking about teams that went down early. Okay, or early or late,
Yeah.
however you want to look at it. But I just want to say this. I woke up this morning and all the headlines are Jalen Hurts, 3 interceptions, you know, yada yada yada. Didn't play well enough. I thought Jalen Hurts played well enough to win. Okay, like I know I might get killed over that and be called a homer, but I've been very honest about Jalen Hurts at different turns in his development and where I think his ceiling is or where I think it's not. I don't think he's the reason they lost this game. I thought he played pretty well the entire game, but the one fatal mistake, it kind of reminds me of Baltimore last week against Pittsburgh. I thought Lamar played a clean game, but they couldn't cash in. And at the end of the game, when he had to make a play, he didn't. Now, all Jalen Hurts had to do in this situation was not throw a pick. Fair. But I thought the rest of the game, you look at the other 2 picks, they're not on him per se. He was pressured 42% of the time. He had answers with his legs. You look at that first fucking possession. I tweeted he was big dog status. He's stiff arming people.
wearing a guy.
He's wearing a guy. He's hitting A.J. Brown outside the numbers. No run game, which is not the usual for them. But they had answers. Got Swift the ball out of the backfield, and they started with a 91-yard drive where he looked great.
How much did you feel like they missed Lane Johnson?
I think they missed Lane. But you're up 14-3. You know, the explosives weren't there. But you're up 14-3. It was the miscues. It was the Goddard pick where Jermaine Johnson punches the ball out off of him. It's a pick. I mean, Driscoll got beat by Jermaine Johnson later in the game. That's Lane's replacement. He got a hand on hurts his arm. The ball sails in the air. I don't put that on the quarterback. Maybe get the ball out a little quicker, but it's not a throw that he's staring down and throwing to the opposition. I mean, 1:52 to go. Mosley in the first half punches the ball off of Swift. And this is a big one for me. The middle 8 is huge. We talk about the middle 8 minutes of the game. Often decides the outcome of the game. You have a chance to go 2 for 1. Instead, you end up 14-9 and give them a field goal. You could come out and score a touchdown out of the half, but Devontae Smith drops a ball out of the half. I don't know if you guys remember this one, but he's wide open.
Yeah.
You're in plus territory. You end up 3rd and 23 instead. This was just not their day. They made mistakes. You missed that field goal late. That's not Jake Elliott. Would you carry 3rd and 8 at the end of the game where Jalen made that big mistake? Like, I didn't like how aggressive they were. And maybe they thought, hey, we're defending against a field goal in that situation. But if it was 17-12 and Jake hit that kick, which you're accustomed to seeing, then would you punt and just lay up on 3rd down? Because at that point, you're punting with a minute left at midfield, up 5, and the Jets have no timeouts. Even with the secondary, I like my chances. So I didn't like them being aggressive there, period. But Jake Elliott did not help them because I think they would have been less aggressive had they been up 17-12.
I think the important thing that I was going to keep my eye on going into this game was, I think it was 2 starting corners that were down for the Jets.
Yep. UVA's own. Bryce Hall,
and in a matchup against anybody in the NFL, that's tough to go out there and look even competitive. But then you throw out there AJ Brown, who's a physical mismatch week in, week out, and you've got another guy that's way different in Devontae. You've got a tight end threat, and you've got Swift out of the backfield. You would think that it's going to be a menacing challenge for the Jets. I think yesterday's game was much more telling about the Jets' defense than it is about the Eagles. To your point, Jalen, I mean, you can't have 4 turnovers and win in the National Football League. I don't care how good your team is. And the Lane Johnson thing, I mean, 40% plus of Jalen's dropbacks, he was under pressure. He was pressured.
And over the course of his career, no surprise, he's sub 500 in those situations. He's 25-5 when he's pressured less than 40%.
The end of the game, first down, get down, we call it church mode. You guys are defensive guys, so you're not in those meetings where they just repeat it. Mm-hmm. You're in the meetings where they say, tackle him inbound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're supposed to first down, get down. And I'm looking at the Jets down inside the 5, running play. It opens up like the Red Sea. Clearly the Eagles are in on the...
Letting them score.
They're going to let them score.
Yeah.
You got to get down.
Yeah.
I know it ended well, but that could have been the talk of the town this morning.
And Saleh spun it like, I'm not afraid. Like, I'm not, but like, I just don't think you were thinking about it. Because that's the first thing as a defensive player I'm thinking about is like, let these guys score. That's our only chance. So
you watch smart offenses. You watch offenses that have been there before and that have won a lot.
Yep.
Jerick McKinnon from the Chiefs.
Yep.
He's fucking getting out of the team.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this, like, there were some great defensive players on the field. Reddick, Sweat made big plays. I want to shout out 2 guys from the Jets. Quincy Williams is a fucking dog, dude.
His hair is great, too.
He is a dog. I mean, he's out there in coverage on Devontae Smith. It's crazy. And then the best rusher of the game for me was Huff. And I talk about Huff all the time, but he's so unorthodox. He's so low to the ground. He'll get out and jog to that moment of truth at the top of the rush and then just dip and go full speed. He was winning on the left. He was winning on the right. He had 9 pressures. And Jermaine Johnson is a high draft pick for the Jets. People don't talk about him a lot. I think he's overall a good player. But he had 2 of his biggest plays as a Jet. I mean, if he doesn't make that play on Goddard, if he doesn't make that play on the pick, he forced 2 picks.
Yep.
The only 2 picks that were not Jalen's fault, in my opinion. And it was Jermaine Johnson. So he created that. But even with the defense, even with and Saleh talked about the gauntlet of QBs they play. And he said he's embarrassed them, and he has. They've had Prescott, Allen, Mahomes, Wilson, and now Hurts. If you knew nothing coming into this stretch, Bills, Cowboys, Pats, Chiefs, Broncos, Eagles, and you thought Aaron Rodgers was starting, you think maybe 3-3, 4-2, like that's
good, cozy spot to be.
You would have felt good about that. 3-3, you would have been like, okay, we knew it was going to be tough. That's where they're sitting, and they play 10 more QBs now. And included in that group is Jimmy G, Mac Jones, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, and C.J. Stroud, who I respect, but he's still a rookie. Okay, so like the light at the end of the tunnel is coming for this defense, and all they've done is made elite guys look bad. And I think that's something you can hang your hat on. And in those situations, Zach Wilson had higher ratings than Allen, Mahomes, Hurts now. And so like it's easy to say, hey, they played the Jets defense, but he had to go play their defenses. So I just want to give the kid credit. I want to give the kid credit. I don't want to get out ahead of it and say he had his best game last night, but he looked pretty fucking good. Like throw to Wilson backed up was like a wow throw. Conklin, they've really gotten a lot out of him. Even the incompletion early in the game on the left sideline, I'm like, that's a really competitive throw. And he didn't. He's been throwing the ball in 3 seconds flat, Kyle. You're an offensive lineman.
Love that guy.
That's not good.
I love that guy. If you're under 3 seconds, I'm happy.
He got to 2.75 yesterday.
If you're under 3, we can work with that.
So
you can't be back there jacking the ball off.
Yeah, you can't be back. Yeah, and so like it's not just the timing, Kyle. Yeah, that's what we would say.
That's what
it's
they
not
say.
just the timing. It's also the top end throws he made, and he didn't make the terrible throws. So I want to give Zach Wilson credit. And for the Eagles, the outlook is you got injuries, man. Like it's just more of the same. You got Ricks, Roby, Blankenship all got dinged.
And the stretch gets tough here for the Eagles.
You're playing the Dolphins next week. And as easy as it would be to look at the stretch, you need to look at the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And like I don't know when Jalen Carter's coming back, but you need all hands on deck up front. I think they missed him yesterday.
Yeah.
The right guard was getting baptized. Okay. But he would have been baptized over and over again all day. And it would have been, so getting him back, getting these pieces healthy. I don't know what's happening with Lane. It worried me a lot. I mean, if there's anybody on the field, it's really hard being retired. It kind of puts me in the position of like my parents or you when you're watching me play or me when I'm watching you play again, when like your buddy goes down. For Lane, anybody to get hurt in the NFL, like that's the number one guy that I'm worried about. I mean, he's my closest friend that's still playing, and to see him go down like that, I thought high ankle. Hopefully the MRIs are okay, but we'll see. Like he's a huge piece of what they do, not just in the pass game, but in the run game. And they were down a couple guys yesterday. So am I worried about the Eagles? No more than I was last week.
I hope Lane takes his time.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you and I both know that an ankle is really tough to deal with, particularly as a lineman. You have to get that positive shin angle. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to pull your toes towards your knees, and you want to be able to have that flexion in the ground.
Ankle flexion.
Lane sits on the bull rush like nobody. He's athletic. He's explosive. That stuff becomes dumbed down when your ankle is not functional. So I think that they're in a great position as a team here with their record to not panic and not rush Lane back in there because they're going to need him for that stretch. He's a huge part of their identity on offense.
He is, and I'm looking this up. But Kyle, what's an isosceles triangle?
Isosceles triangle.
Is
two,
3 different lengths.
I want to explain. I want to
two of
explain
them are
to
the
people.
same.
Well, fucking picture a triangle.
2 angles
guys.
are the same.
Picture a fucking triangle. At the base of that triangle, there's an angle.
Yes.
And it drastically changes the angle of the rest of the triangle. I could teach geometry. When the base of the triangle, the corner is a little bit different, and that's what it is when your ankle's fucked up.
Yeah.
And so like I look at that, and for an offensive lineman, you mentioned it anchoring on the bull. For a pass rusher, it's your ankle flexion at the top of the rush. It's being able to sink in there. I remember having a high ankle and having to play through it and shoot it up every week. And it totally changes you.
It gets different.
Not just in the moment. It's very painful. But
mentally,
then after the rest of my career, after playing through that, I lost ankle flexion.
Yeah.
I lost ability at the top of the rush because I decided I wanted to play it out and earn my contract. It was a contract year. So you make a deal with the devil every time you play hurt.
Mentally,
so you have to be careful with that ankle.
When you get those shots and you don't feel it, like.
Oh, I felt the shots. That needle was like this.
No.
Yeah,
but like after
yeah.
the shot, like your ankle, like it's tricking your mind that you feel better was there ever like a mental aspect of that? Like when you're out there, or you're just like, fuck it. Like
I remember going to San Francisco at the Stick, and this was like 2 weeks after I had the high ankle. And by the way, they misdiagnosed it. They said you have a low ankle, and I was like, bro, I'm not a basketball player. I've never had this. I was like, I feel like the biggest baby in the world. Like I can barely walk. It feels like a high ankle feels like somebody stabs you in the ankle every time you try to run the first few weeks. So I was out there. I wasn't practicing. I remember walking into Candlestick and was having trouble walking out to the field. Then they go shoot me up, and you're like, 2 sacks. Okay? So, like, I think the biggest mental hurdle is waking up in the morning every day and being like, this is not how I'm going to feel on game day. And also taking reps, like, during the week. Like, you can't get your reps. So I think it's a tough deal. And then the needle's fucking huge. Yeah. And they're poking that thing around in there. Yeah. It's not just like a little needle that they're like, here you go, like at the doctor's. It's a needle this long. And
they go in, out, in, different angles.
In the joint.
But for me, they were in the joint and they were just moving the needle around. And even when it's numb, you can feel the pressure of the needle pushing on different ligaments.
I had a cortisone in my shoulder. And like that feeling of when the needle's in there and you can kind of feel
the pressure.
It feels like plaster going into your body. And then them like, oh, we're not done yet. And it like physically moving that needle to the next part of your joint.
Yeah.
But
I used to tape them. I used to tape the doctors and they didn't like it. Go ahead.
Oh, I think you sent me a video before. But after that's done, 5 minutes, you're like, oh, this is amazing.
Oh yeah. But it's hard. And if that's what Lane's dealing with, or anybody who's got that ankle injury, whether it's a high ankle or an ankle, like it is a big deal. You have to be careful. So we've been talking about ankles.
You know it's not a big deal.
What?
Achilles, obviously.
Why?
He's
just out there throwing the ball
around for the game.
Like, what's going on there?
Do you think that's extra, like, additive for those guys, seeing him there and, like, being there? Or at least for Zach Wilson, do you think that's, like extra good energy? Like, hey, like, he's actually
Aaron's
coming.
Got to be great for the vibe.
Aaron throwing the ball around with the torn Achilles reminds me of, like, when we have a softball pitcher and he's doing well and I start warming up on the side. They're like, oh, the boss wants to pitch. And, the pitcher's like, oh, fuck. Like, really? Like, I know you were good, but, like, are you going to be better than me right now, huh? Scott was good. That's good. I can sit down.
Scott was great.
We got the playoffs in a couple days.
Well,
America's
first
team.
Base for you.
I'm not playing in the fucking field, Kyle. Okay. It's playoffs. I'm just going to sit.
I'm coming back. Don't do that.
So anyways, San Francisco, Cleveland. So to put this in perspective for the Cleveland Browns, it's just kind of wacky. Reed, you said what year? Because I asked, I go, when's the last time they beat an undefeated team, Cleveland, this far into the season? I think you said it was in the 70s or the 50s.
The Browns, it was their first win over an opponent that entered the game 5-0 or better since November 2nd, 1969. Cowboys 6-0.
Yeah, 1969. It's like Watergate.
It was the summer of 69.
It's like the Vietnam War. It's like
they were smoking bowls out of shotguns.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, exactly. That's what was happening when this happened. And so, like, it's so interesting to me. You look at all the Cleveland Browns jerseys with all the QB names and everything, and the biggest win in your lifetime, if you're a Browns fan in the regular season, was at the hands of P.J. Walker. Like, it came down to P.J. Walker. You got a good Kyle. But I thought, Chippy, we talked about the Lions showing up and clearing the hyenas out. I thought for Cleveland, this was an affirming game. Okay, like, we know it's going to be tough sledding. We know that when you signed Deshaun Watson, everybody thought, like, oh, the offense is going to be on point. But the way this team has grown up and the way this team has developed is they have this historically, like, relevant defense. We're going to be talking about these numbers the whole year, and Jim Schwartz has done a great job. This is how you're going to have to win games, even with Deshaun sometimes. So to win this game against the best team in the NFL.
I looked up a stat.
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz Kyle Shanahan is 1-9 versus Jim Schwartz coach.
You just told me that yesterday before I put San Francisco in 96 of my teasers. So, like, this is an affirming game for them. If we can do it with P.J. Walker, we can do it with Deshaun.
We're built for battle.
We're built for battle. It's not a place you want to go play. And I thought Stefanski called a brilliant game. Like, I really do. Left-handed, called a brilliant game. A lot of, like, the reverse to Goodwin, the fake QB sneak, the pitch off that. Like, I could go on and on about the concepts that they hit them with. And it's like, hey,
it's not gadgets. It's
the vertical passing game is not necessarily always going to be there. How can we run the ball, be creative enough, hit the edges. They were on the edge a lot. Pin pull type stuff, get the backside on the edge quickly. Out of the teeth of that defense, I thought Amari Cooper, you want to talk about having a number one that people don't think about? Yeah. Like, people don't think about Amari Cooper kind of disappear in Cleveland. He won them that game. You know, when they had to have scores.
Who's going to cover him? Why is nobody covering this guy?
Well, he dropped Lenore on, you know, they double chip. He drops Lenore. He goes for like 50-something yards. It sets up a field goal. Field goals are huge in this game. And then a huge catch out of the half over Ward. That leads to a field goal as well. Like, at most times that they were sustaining drives, this guy had. That catch out of the half was fucking brilliant. So the guy is a bona fide number one. He bailed you out. But I do think it was about San Francisco not putting this team away. It's a lot like looking at the Eagles, you know, yesterday.
Opportunities.
You had chances to put this team away. If the Eagles scored 24 points in that game, because that's kind of the way the quarterback played, was, you know, if you don't make big mistakes, even with the pick at the end, I think they're in the 20s. Like, that's what you need to beat the Jets. I mean, so, and the same thing here. I think San Francisco could have had 23, 27 points in this game early on. After the Warner pick, you lose 8 on a screen, you false start, and then Moody misses it from 54. Okay, it's a long field goal. But this guy's got a history. I've talked about it. You don't fucking draft kickers.
Third round?
It puts too much pressure on him. And it puts too much pressure on you. It's like they went up to get him. Okay, 3rd and 13 with 2:20 left to go in the game in the first quarter. You have a penalty on Buford. Buford, I don't know how the fuck to say that guy's name. Burford. You got a penalty. They're backing up. They're cutting to Deebo Samuel on a cart. And you're like, oh, this is going to get ugly if they don't put this team away. And the very next play, you get the shot to Ayuk, and he beats the ball up. Okay, like, and I don't think Brock Purdy made a lot of great throws yesterday. He was off. But this throw is the throw you have to make to put teams away. I remember last year when Minnesota was playing Green Bay early in the season. Christian Watson had that huge drop. Like, you're on the road. You think you're the better team. These things pop up all the time. You have to make your plays when you have them to be able to put teams away. They didn't make that play, and it just got tough from there on. 2:43 to left to go in the second quarter. Myles Garrett jumps the snap, okay? So you have a free play. Hit McCaffrey. He's open. That's a touchdown. So, like, you have multiple opportunities, one on the receiver, one on the quarterback. And as a side note, Myles Garrett jumping off sides, he's still pressured. He jumped off sides, started to get back. This is why you always keep rushing as a defensive lineman when you jump off sides. It's so easy to just stop and try to run back or quit. Myles Garrett, he still pressured him, and that was the difference right there, not being able to hit McCaffrey, not being able to hit Ayuk. And I don't think Brock Purdy was the same, okay? Like, he came out of the half, almost threw JOK, who played great. JOK was all over the field. He got great depth, tipped the ball, almost threw him a pick. Then he turns around and throws a pick. So, like, the whole second half, they're backed up. They're shooting themselves in the foot. You had a grounding. You had a Trent hold. Even the drive to set up the missed field goal that you would have won, I thought Brock's placement was off. A lot of people this morning are saying, hey, Brock got him in position. Last week I said this. I said Brock Purdy's a fringe top 10 quarterback. And I mean he could be 8. He could be 12. I mean no disrespect. I've been his biggest fan. And I'm a big fan of the Niners. Niners fans didn't take that so well on YouTube.com, but that's the nature of the business. These are the games you have to win if you want to be considered elite. Okay? Like, and as a run outfit, missing Debo, missing Christian McCaffrey, that's a real big deal. I mean, Debo in the run game too.
It's a huge deal. Like,
So I'm not trying to say like the Niners are not okay. I think the Niners are fine, dude. I think they're fine. And I think Brock Purdy's fine, dude.
Not if guys aren't healthy.
Yeah.
But
everybody loves the elaborate 3D puzzle that Kyle Shanahan has put together. We walk into his room and we go, "Oh my God, that's such a cool puzzle." But if you take one of the key pieces out,
it's Jenga. It's Jenga.
Yep.
He's brilliant.
I can take Debo out, but then I took
There's a few pieces I'm sure you could afford to take out, but you take out the ones that we know, and that thing's going to go.
Here's a big piece, Kyle, because I think the defense still had opportunities. Dre Greenlaw was not in this game. And, I think everybody talks about Fred Warner. We should. Everybody talks about the Nick Bosa, that defense. But last week, you watched Dre Greenlaw.
Attitude.
If you've never watched the Niners play before, like, not only the attitude, but the athleticism. Yeah. And Burks was in there. and I'm not picking on Burks, but after that bad call, which was an awful call, I just want to say this on Gibson. Like, that was a bad call, and probably the reason that the Browns won the game, because that's third down, right? After that call.
The one to put him in range?
Yeah, at the end of the game. Burks has a chance to make a play on a sack, okay? Like, it could be 2nd and 20 on the 45. Instead, it's the other 41, okay? On 2nd and 8 down in the red zone, P.J. Walker throws into traffic. I think Greenlaw might make that play. It hits Burks. You know, on the drive that made it 17-16. 4th and 4, if you remember this play. You know, we get kind of an out route or a sit route, and Burks is kind of like chopping his feet. He's 5 yards away. He makes a break, but it's a touch late. You know, it's an average break on that. They are so accustomed to having backers that make above average plays in every situation. I thought losing Dre Greenlaw down the stretch
covered.
There were I think 4th and 4, he makes that play.
Yeah.
I think he makes that pick. I think he makes that sack when he's a free runner. So I think that the injuries mattered. I'm not down on the Niners. I'm not down on the Eagles.
It's important to emphasize this as former players. When you get so up for a game like they did versus the Cowboys at home,
yeah,
you have an emotional victory. You're undefeated.
Talking about the T-shirt.
It's tough to get 2 of those games in a row when you know that you have to put your best foot forward. They showed up. They were the 11 out of 10 version of themselves against the Cowboys. They showed up, and maybe they were a 6.5, 7,
yeah.
and they're not good enough to win with that.
Yep.
But it's tough to string together 2 weeks in a row of emotional.
But you also need to learn how to adjust when Christian McCaffrey's out of the ballgame.
Yes.
Because if history tells us anything, he's going to be out of the ballgame.
And they started hot. I mean, they started hot. You know, it looked like typical 49ers offense early, and then obviously
Second half.
the game took a turn.
Yep.
Second half, Jim Schwartz, hats off to him. I mean, like,
They went man a lot versus Brock in the second half. They forced Brock to throw people open as opposed to guys finding openings.
because the weather changed too, and I think
Yes.
that's like, as the game went on, Erin Andrews started looking like she was out there in Labrador, and you know, like when the ball was slippery, Brock lost it before the half. Like, you could start to see Wisnowski, who had a great day punting, his little sleeves were blowing all over the place.
Cool.
Like, you know it's going to be tough in the second half. And I think Jim was like, all right, let's make this motherfucker beat us. And I think Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback. I think he's a top 10 guy when he plays well. And most of the time he's been great. This is the first real stinker he had. I thought Seattle last year in primetime, he was okay. Like, he got away with a few. Mm-hmm. This was a day where the defense was too good for you to be off and still win the game.
But this is the best part of the NFL. This is coming up on the time, like, not to, like, say I'm a guy that's hoping for injuries, but this is something where you figure out with your team. Like, there's guys on the back end who are on practice squad who aren't playing yet, where coaches are, like, kind of waiting, like, hey, when are we going to give this guy a chance? And guys have to step up.
The Jets had guys that did that.
Exactly. And just how Brock Purdy, like came in and stepped up is just that other guys have to do that in certain positions, and that's what's going to carry some of these teams. Exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's talk about Cincy, you know, because that was a big game. I really enjoyed that game from what I watched of it. You know, it was a big atmosphere. Coming in, I think Cincy was favored by 3.5. Mm-hmm. And to me, the Seahawks are the better team right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, like,
more complete.
I couldn't tell if that line, like, I couldn't tell if Vegas was banking on people thinking Cincinnati was really good because of last week. They're back. It was the Cardinals, the whole thing. I couldn't tell what it was about, but Seattle was the better team. You know, and I'm a big Bengals fan and all that, but they outgained them, time possession, the whole thing. It just came down to the red zone. Like, if you want to look at this game in its simplest, most boiled down, you know, form, it's they get in the red zone, the last 4 trips, 1 turnover, 1 field goal, 2 turnovers on downs. And usually they're 51%. So you want to look at why they lost this game, it's that. And Pete Carroll's 7-7 coming off a bye, so he's not great. But I thought if they had played better, you know, anywhere but between the 20s, like that's where they were good. They got down there, they fucked it up. Like whether it was a Kenneth Walker low block on 2nd and 3, turns to 2nd and 18, your 1st and 5 on the goal line. Dax Hill hits Taylor Britt on the pylon, after 2 straight runs. You get a bad read in the read option game. They just made little mistakes and they couldn't protect. Like Geno had JSN late in this game running across the field on a shallow crosser on play action, and Logan Wilson's on his Honda, and he can't get there, and he's open. And Geno, I'm watching Geno. Geno sees him. Like, unless he's looking behind him at somebody in the crowd, like, there were a few moments where I thought Geno was really he was hesitant. And in the red zone, that's a touchdown. But instead, you end up with a Hendrickson sack, and then you end up with a Hubbard sack. The game ends with the right side not being able to sort a game, and Hill dumping.
That's like
Geno
training
Smith.
camp 101.
It's training camp 101.
Individual period. This is what we do. This is like, come on.
Red zone, man.
And to your point about the crossing route to JSN, first off, people have bitched about him not making a lot of production, but then it's like, look at the guys he's playing with.
And one of them is like, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me the ball. And I am 6'6". I look like a fucking G.I. Joe.
Jerry Rice, similar numbers to JSN his rookie year. So fucking relax, Seattle. Also, zone coverage was the story of this game for Geno Smith. Geno not able to produce at his normal optimal rate. And you talked about the crossing route. When you got a defender in trail, if they're in zone coverage and they've got somebody covering, if they've got one guy covering a man, you have a split second to throw that ball. He will be open for half a second. He'll immediately be.
He was open for like 7 seconds.
He'll immediately be in the next zone. So, I mean, that example may not work, but when you're in zone coverage, that ball's got to come out.
Yeah. And I really do think DK Metcalf, like, big fan of his.
He does some shit.
But he definitely he wants the ball bad. I know it's coming from a good place, but he was frustrated. And when that frustration bleeds over, it's personal foul. It's waving his hands at Geno. Like, I understand. He wants the ball. This is how receivers think. But it was not his day, and they needed him to be better, and they needed Geno to be better. I just didn't think it was their day offensively, especially in the red zone.
And they had opportunities.
But I want to turn this into a positive about the Bengals. Okay, and Joe Burrow definitely looked from a mobility standpoint. I think this thing comes in little, like, benchmarks. So at first, couldn't run, totally shitty. Like, can't run, not going to be able to do it. Okay, game 1, he's running for his life. Then he re-aggravates it. For a month, he barely ran. There was a Drew Sample third down where he hit Sample, like, in the flat or something. And I think he ran 35 yards to avoid the rush yesterday. So even if the ball placement was off, which it was, like, especially late in the game, that offense was cheeks. I thought Joe Burrow looking like Joe Burrow from a mobility standpoint is step 1. We saw, like, a baby step last week in the red zone against the Cardinals, buying time, the whole thing. He had some plays like that yesterday, but the one was the Drew Sample scramble. I was like, if you're taking off like that and running around in a circle, you feel good. So I think this thing might come in little. They can't get the run game going right now. I want to shout out their D-line. The Bengals D-line
awesome
had one of those days, and I can remember them as a player where, well, they're unforgettable. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, you're at home. It's a big game. The crowd's going nuts.
And it's your unit.
I got chills thinking about it.
MVU, most valuable unit.
The game ends. You're in the red zone. Sam Hubbard's got like 5 fucking pressures. He's had a career day. Hendrickson, Hill to end the game. Like, I have chills thinking about being a part of games like that where you're like, hey, we're going to put it on us. And I know that D-line coach is over on the sideline every time that Joe gets the ball. Be ready to go right back out there, and we're going to keep our fucking foot on their neck. And I think that was the type of attitude they had up front. And I just wanted to shout them out. Seattle's defense stood up too. Like, they played well. They played a ton of man in the second. And, like, they were competitive. If I'm the Seattle defense, we gave you a chance to win this game. Mm-hmm. But the D-line for the Bengals, fucking sensational.
You mentioned Dax Hill just a second ago. And one guy that we really loved was Von Bell in this defense last year.
Safeties is a big change, even with that. Yeah.
And his exit, and now they're trying to find new ways to use Dax Hill.
Yep.
And he's a great hybrid player, and I'm glad you named him along with some linemen, because it doesn't matter your size. If you play a certain way, you can be involved in that kind of conversation for a tone-setting defense, and that's what they were. That's what they've been up front. They stopped the run. And obviously getting home with some sacks yesterday is great.
That was a Bengals defense type day. They gave you some help in the red zone, but I thought that the defense should be commended. Now, talking about the AFC North, because the AFC North had a nice day. Yeah. The Ravens escaped London with a fucking win, and it was a total escape. I don't think it's funny. I haven't turned on TV today, but I imagine they're talking about what's wrong with the Ravens. They won a game. They beat the Titans. By the way, the Titans go out on Thursday or Friday. Don't do that, Mike. I talked to you guys about this last week. You guys are going to be tired. You guys are going to be all fucked up.
Chris, the sleep consultant.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Hey, Green Light Pop, maybe we start this live show later. I can actually get some sleep. But I thought the Ravens went about their business the right way. They came out the right way. What they can't do is they can't put teams away. I mean, that's been the problem with this team. You talk about Indy, you talk about any of the games that they've had trouble. Pittsburgh, they get these leads. They can't put them away. I know Harbaugh, if you're a Ravens fan, you're like, okay, this predated Monken. This was Roman for a while.
It was built in.
It's like I almost feel like I can't look at Monken and say, it's you, because this is familiar. You haven't been aggressive with leads, and you run the ball 13 times in the red zone. There's not much going there. So I think the question for them, and obviously I want to shout out the defense, Clowney, Matabike, did not expect them to be second in the league in a bunch of defensive categories. By the way, if Cleveland didn't exist because they're kind of an outlier, you're like the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
And coming in, there were so many question marks on this defense, especially as rushers, and they stepped up. And Clowney has stepped up as a veteran addition because that's what they needed. So I want to shout those guys out. But offense, and by the way, Roquan Smith is the smartest football player ever.
Yesterday we did a segment called Tops of the Right Side of the Pond.
Yeah.
Where we got to talk about the London matchup.
Yep.
And we got to talk about one guy who woke up on the right side of the bed. And I said, there was a guy who was watching the 49ers the other night.
Yeah.
And America was gushing over Fred Warner.
Yeah.
And his ability to change a game, not only with his physical abilities, but his brain.
Yeah.
And to your point, I said, Roquan Smith woke up this morning getting to play against this Titans team and said, I'm going to have me some fun.
And he did, bro.
And he did.
He look at this play where he lets Okronkwo get up, and it burns 4 seconds. And in the moment, I'm thinking, that's smart, but what's it gain? And then I look down at the clock. He knows there's 2:12 to go.
He is such a
so
football guy.
They can't get a fucking playoff before the 2-minute warning. Now, I will say this. Malik Willis probably bailed him out. I don't know that Tannehill would have been able to beat him. Malik Willis took a bunch of sacks. I had the under in this game.
You were celebrating.
They needed a touchdown at the end of the game for the under.
Stayed in bounds.
And I'm talking about when they got that block in the back at the one. I've never seen that. I was like, everything was just lining up perfectly. They took me to the edge.
Wow.
And
they were edging you.
They were edging me. So the only decision I would say that was interesting to me was the Ravens' decision not to go for it with 14 minutes to go. I think at this point they are up, 18-3? They have a chance to decide
put it to bed.
Whether, just put the game to bed or it's going to be at this point when they're making this decision. I thought it was interesting from a gamesmanship situation. Malik Willis is warming up and Tannehill's on the cart and they're lining up to kick. There's 14 minutes to go in the game, okay? I would have tried to put him away. You got plenty of time to steal another possession, and you end up scared for your life at the end of the game because you left the door open. Now, I don't know what people on the internet are saying because they know best when it comes to fourth down percentages, but I think in that situation I might have gone. That's just me. And for the offense, you got to figure out ways to be more aggressive with the lead. Lamar cannot make that one big mistake. Now, this is becoming a pattern. Yeah. Okay, people have pointed the pattern out. I've defended him. I've said he's been playing really well because for 95% of the game, and I know the passing numbers aren't crazy.
Ball's out, though.
The ball's out. He looks good. The ball's going where it's supposed to go. He's not looking to run first. I got an argument with a guy on Twitter the other day. He's like, Lamar will always look to run first. That's not the case. Not right now, it's not. No. And I think it's that throw. It's that backed up pick. It's that one fucking bugaboo every game. The Ravens, you don't get a mulligan. It's not like playing golf with Kyle. You don't get a mulligan. It's
And I feel like defensive coaches from here on, they're going to see the tape, and that's what they're going to be telling your defense. Like, hey,
hang in there.
This quarterback is good, but he's going to give us 1 or 2.
Or Justice Hill's going to fumble the ball.
How about you talk to your special teams unit who fumbles a punt return at the 7-yard line prior to the half?
Well, that's the Titans. Yeah, Titans, the fucking.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you want to talk about.
Yeah, just wait for that mistake.
Like they're going to give you opportunities.
Yeah, no question.
But the one thing I can say the Ravens can lean on is Justin Tucker, which is going to be huge from here out.
It's huge, but you shouldn't be. You shouldn't.
6?
But bro, in the first half, you shouldn't have to hit 4 field goals. Like they scored a bunch on their first 6 drives. Fucking make some touchdowns. I know it's easy for me to say, but like I think there's part of this team that has this hardball ethos where it's like, we are going to grind games out. Like, that's not how we win. We're going to grind games out. But I think you gotta put teams away because the games you're losing are the games that you should be winning.
Wasn't it Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy?
They didn't lose this
disagreement on offensive philosophy. Kellen Moore was like, "I want to put a lot of points on the board."
And old school guys
like, "I want to win the football game."
Yeah, old school guys, you can do
I'm
both.
Like, you can win the football game with a lot of points.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Yeah, hear me out. I can do the math real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. This game should have been 30-13.
Yeah.
Okay. And instead, you're fighting for your life at the 1-yard line. So the question for me, and maybe we'll talk to Dianna Russini about this later, but I think you got to make a move before the deadline. If you're serious about beating the elite teams, Mike Evans' name get thrown around, Judy, Sutton. Here's an interesting one, and we're talking about the Titans as much as anything. I don't know that they'd ship Derrick Henry to an AFC contender, but I think Derrick Henry, it's time. I think it's time. Tajay Spears has been getting a lot of looks, right? Like he's the third down back, and Henry, when you run him into a light box, is terrific right now. Like he broke off a big run that way. But when the box is loaded, he's not making magic happen the same as he used to. And if you're looking down the road, we've been talking about, catching this train before it leaves with Derrick Henry and getting some value for him. Like, I feel like right now might be the time.
You know who's done really well in the draft that could afford to maybe give up a pick or two that would give Derrick Henry an opportunity to run against a light box? Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, no question. No question.
Like, let's see how many receivers we can put on the field and still have Derrick Henry in the backfield. Let's see how you cover Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know if any of these trades happen because a lot of these people are weird about AFC.
I'm just thinking as a Madden GM.
But if you're the Titans, the act of trading Derrick Henry says that we're not there right now, right? Like, we're not trying to win right now. So,
but they can win with Spears.
You have to ignore the ickiness. That if like sending him to another team that you might play in the play, you're not gonna be there. What does it matter? Catch him down the road, bro. Let him enjoy Derrick Henry for a year. Let Derrick Henry enjoy it for a year because this is not fun. Quarterback situation is terrible, and you want to talk about Saquon Barkley last night putting the team on his back a couple of those drives. That's a guy that could be a fucking game changer for the Ravens.
For him to bust out last night. When he did, it was so worth watching.
Yeah, and I know it's fantasy land, and I know like we're just talking about trades, and most of them don't happen. But if I was the Baltimore Ravens, I would be looking at doing something. Okay, let's hit a couple more of the AFC elites.
Let's have one.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Kyle. You want to do the Cash App ad read?
Thanks to Cash App for sponsoring this podcast with multiple tools for saving, spending, and sending. Cash App is an all-in-one way to stay in control of your money. Bottom line is, I can't control everything, Chris and Nate, but what I can control is my cash, my money. Great way to stay in control of your life. And mine, when I try to, is to get the Cash App. Download Cash App in the App Store or in Google Play to see why it's the #1 finance app in the U.S. App Store, Chris.
We prefer finance.
Finance.
Is that all?
It's like umbrella and umbrella.
That's how quick it is moving money with Cash App. Kyle, I ate at Sheets the other night. Had to Cash App these guys on the way home from Pumpkin. No, I didn't. I was like, I lost 8 pounds. Give me everything behind the counter. And I had one of them chicken sandwiches. They give you a fucking whole cutlet, dude. They're not stingy with the bird.
You get the spicy chicken, or you get?
I just got the regular old chicken. I don't want to upset
Orlovsky
the
chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I got the Orlovsky.
No cheese, no mustard,
just pickles, some ketchup. I was riding in the back. I was riding next to Kingston on the way home, fearing for my life. I was so tired, I actually fell asleep for 2 hours. Woke up and I was like, I'm alive. Good. Reed was back there snoring, but. Shout out to Sheets. I know there's a big Sheets Wawa debate, and it might not be good for the show for me to be a homer and talk about, Sheets, but I'm kind of a Sheets fan. I've never eaten there before. You say, hey, there's hoagies at Wawa. I don't eat fucking hoagies. All All right, America's team, Sheets. All right, couple more AFC elites here. Jacksonville got it done. Okay, they haven't been great at home. They haven't been great in division at times. Like they go through these spells where they win a big game and you're like, this is the team.
Duval.
They're 4-2. They just took care of Indy. I know is without Anthony Richardson, but Minshew is coming home and the whole thing. This was a trap spot for them. The line was 4. I actually, if I had to bet it, would have leaned Indy. I just thought it was going to be a tougher game, but it wasn't. I thought Minshew just looked like somebody who had big eyes, dude. His first pick, you're one of the picks, probably not on him, but the second pick I saw was like one of the worst I've seen all year. So he just was not good.
Big eyes. I like
Jacksonville's got 15 takeaways on the year. This is the 9th straight road loss in this series. So the home team has dominated. Yeah, I'm just fishing for things I actually care to talk about from this game. And I think more than anything, there was a turn in this game. And, like you talk about moments of truth is what I like to call them with teams that know they're not supposed to be in this ball game. Okay, like every time you play the Dolphins, the moment of truth happens like pretty early.
In the first 15.
It happened for the Panthers yesterday pretty quick. They were up 14. They still got a moment of truth before the half. Okay, but the moment of truth, shout out to Primo and Gangstar, who actually sent me a really nice voice note yesterday congratulating me on the pumpkin.
He's great.
I think he thought I broke the record.
He's great.
Primo's the man. But like the moment of truth for them came with the Colts up 3-0. They string together a really nice drive. Jags 4th and 1 on their own 45. They sweep left. There's 3 minutes left in the first. They go get a touchdown. And then Josh Allen, beautiful hip turn. He's having a hell of a year. He's got 2 hat tricks on the year. He's up there at the top of the league as a rusher.
2 hat tricks is wild.
Yeah, well, that's how you get. If you want to have a bunch of sacks in the NFL, you got to have at least 1 hat trick.
Bunches.
So he's got 2 of them. I thought that was the turning point in the game. And then from there, it just kind of was what it was. But talking about Jacksonville right now, I think they've done a great job of separating themselves. It's so interesting looking back a month at that Kansas City game and being like, Jacksonville's cheeks. They couldn't win this game. They couldn't win this game at home. The offense barely, Kansas City.
But now you're like, Kansas City has the best record in football.
Yeah, no, Kansas City's really good. That was a tough game. And they have won a couple rock fights. They can win different ways, right? Mm-hmm. The past game, it hasn't been consistent, but ETN's a huge deal. Mm-hmm. And I just like this team, man. I talked about before the season, if you were going to bet a win total, this is the one that could go way up. And they're 4-2. So
what was their win total set at?
I think it was like 9.5 or something. But I said if you're looking at biggest delta between, for a team that goes over, I think this might be it, considering the division, the whole thing. We've got like 2 minutes. 3 minutes to talk about last night's game. Buffalo eking one out. Guys, I talked about the under. I just want to give you this stat, and this pretty much says it all about the Giants. Giants are the only team in NFL history in the Super Bowl era to have more rushing yards, more passing yards, fewer INTs, fewer fumbles lost, fewer missed field goals, and still lose. 134-0 in the Super Bowl era. So don't tell your Giants friends that stat this morning. They'll want to fucking jump off a bridge somewhere because that is terrible, dude.
Unreal.
You had every opportunity to win this game. Wink didn't blitz, okay? Once in a fucking lifetime, this guy's like,
favorite.
I will sit on my hands and play this game the right way if we're going to have a chance to win. They did it. Okereke, McFadden, real positives at linebacker. I loved him in Indy. I love that young linebacker, McFadden. But the Giants, man, end of half, Tyrod Taylor, checking run. Dable has to be the most frustrated guy on the planet right now.
You seen him screaming at him after the play, like, "What are you doing?" It's just like you're a smart quarterback. You have to know that they are showing you pre-snap for you to run that ball because we don't have time left to get another playoff.
And
you got it. You got to know that.
Good question. Matt just asked on the jumbotron: is Arthur Smith more frustrated than Dable? I think Dable's frustrated because he has no fucking options. He can't stand his starting quarterback. You have a chance to win with the backup. That happens. Arthur Smith at any point, and we'll get to it. Maybe it takes convincing the other Arthur. I think is probably the issue. But I think this is like you're trapped, dude. You're just fucking trapped. And so, like, not winning this game, like, kind of kills your season. You were going to get Daniel Jones back at some point. He had the neck. Every primetime game for the Giants has been chippy. They're must-watch, not because of the quality of football, because of the chippiness. San Francisco was chippy. There were guys doing dirty shit in that game. The last one was chippy. This one's chippy. But they don't.
was kicking dicks last night.
They don't have any. What was it?
Dude,
Who?
Deion Dawkins was out there.
Oh, yeah.
Bodying
Oh,
fools.
yeah.
Spencer Brown.
But
Spencer Brown got thrown out of the club.
But you want to talk about.
And then Kayvon was on the ground, and Kayvon
Doing
was
jujitsu.
Kayvon was doing the.
Jiu-jitsu
He was doing
kicks.
MMA.
Yeah.
He was doing the GSP, like
Yep.
GSP on the ground, like kind of thing.
yeah.
But when Dexter Lawrence came over and Spencer Brown's on the ground,
Sexy Dex.
I was like, bro, that's a bad feeling when you see a man like that standing over you.
And Leonard Williams.
Leonard Williams. That was it. Leonard
hit
Williams. He
him with
balled
the
his
pump
fist.
fake.
He balled his fist. I could kill you, but
I'ma
it's a
let
tight
you-
ball game. Now I will say this before we get. I will say
They
that.
said there's 8 flags on the field.
Yeah. I will say this. Dianna Russini is coming on in a second. Giants fans, I hear you. I sprinkled a little bit on the live money line. All right, would have been nice, but the under was plenty. They blew that game for you. I mean, that was a bad call at the end. It was a bad no call. I think sometimes the refs are like, I can't. I got to swallow my whistle because I just threw a flag. But you can't be afraid to make
That's
that
exactly
call.
it. They don't want to call it 2 plays in a row, but it's a flag.
It's a fucking
Penalties
flag.
can't happen.
And there were a
2
lot of
plays in a row.
penalties yesterday, and no calls and calls that were just kind of sideways. And the night ended on one, honestly, that robbed us of one more opportunity to see if they could do this. And for the Bills, we'll talk about them later in the week. Okay, I need some time to figure out what the fuck is wrong with this team. I have a couple inclinations, but we've got Dianna Russini on the line.
Great.
Coming up here.
We have her in 30 minutes.
Oh, in 30 minutes. Oh,
Awesome.
golly,
We got plenty
guys,
of
we got
time.
more time. See? You guys.
Yeah. You want to talk Lions Bucks next?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I do. Fuck yeah, I do. Yeah, see, I thought we had Dianna Russini. This is the guts of a live show.
The
I have no idea what's
creamsicle
going on.
jerseys, Chris. I'm going to open with this. When your record is as such, like it is in Tampa, when you wear the creamsicle jersey, they're awful in the creamsicles. Like they've never won a game.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You can't do that to your team.
What? Put them in creamsicles?
Can't put them in creamsicles.
You're kidding me, Kyle.
Can't put them in creamsicles.
You're kidding me.
Can't win in them. Can't put them in them.
What are you fucking?
You want to talk
Mike
about
Singletary?
analytics? You
So,
want to talk about
did-
analytics?
Yeah.
Analyze the numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Got
When
it.
you wear the creamsicle jerseys, you're a sub 300 team.
I don't know, man. I keep wearing them. Who do they
I
play
just
next?
I just seen.
You know?
I was just
they play like Atlanta next.
I was just listening to someone. They were saying that the creamsicle jerseys, that they're like surprised people are like embracing them as they are now. Supposedly back in the days, they were saying people in Tampa, they said with those jerseys, they felt it made the team look soft.
They felt emasculated.
Wow. Well, it's a
Like-
new league.
Well, you know what? Get more manly fans because you shouldn't feel that way. You should feel like comfortable in your masculinity to go to the game in a fucking bright orange shirt. It's sick. People in Knoxville do it all the time. Okay? It's one of the coolest colors there is. And like their jerseys are hands down the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
That setup is hands down the best in the NFL. Like you could say the Raiders.
I thought
maybe
the Giants
it's the
last
novelty
night were
for
great.
me. Giants
the
look
Bills
great.
last night.
You know, these creamsicles are something, Kyle.
They are, but I can't argue with
Okay.
facts.
Well, let me give you some facts. Like if Baker hits Trey Palmer twice for would-be scores at the end of the half and once in the fourth, like maybe they're in this game. And the Lions, I'm going to make this about the Lions, right? The Craig Reynolds block on the Amon-Ra touchdown,
Oh,
that's Lions football, okay? That's Lions football. That's Dan Campbell. That's this group. And you can tell they have this kind of like this way about them that they're gritty. A couple weeks ago after they lost, Dan said, we need to get back in the mud. They're a muddy team. They like games like this. Fuck it. We got to play left-handed. We can't run the ball. Let's embrace the challenge. We got to hit Jameson Williams for a shot. Like that's going to be the biggest play of the game for us. Like we'll do it. They're learning how to win different ways. I thought Goff was really good. And, I thought this was a huge win because you're missing Montgomery. The Bucs are that scrappy team. It's a sleepy spot.
They could be the most underrated team in football.
Well, I think it's catching up to where like people understand. Last week, the tables turned so much. We had the conversation about are they contenders? I want to go back and say I hate that word because what does it mean? Mm-hmm. It's so easy for me to say.
Are they in play?
It's so easy to say a team's not a contender and then be right at the end of the year. So like, you know, if I say the Lions aren't contenders and they don't win the Super Bowl, do I then get to be like, you know, like look at me?
Yeah. What do they have to get to the
I think
NFC Championship?
I think what I want to see from Detroit, pull their schedule up if you could. Like I want to see them win late in the year, and look like this, and then you could say, fuck yeah. They can do this thing, you know, like, but the whole key is for the Lions is going to be home playoff games. You know, like they're 5-1 right now. They're right there with the Eagles. They're right. And the Eagles have a really hellacious stretch. The Lions have next up, they get the Ravens. God, remember that Lions-Ravens game where Tucker hit the crossbar and it went in from like the 50-yard line? Mm-hmm. This should be a really good game. Lions-Ravens. Raiders-Lions, you feel good about that. Lions-Chargers. A good test for the defense. Bears, Packers, Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings. There's no game on that schedule the rest of the way that the Lions can't win. Mm-hmm. And all their hardest work is behind them. They went to Arrowhead. They won that game. They played the Seahawks at home. That's a tough one. They have the best team that they're going to play. The toughest game has already happened. So if you can go into Arrowhead and win, you can win any of these games. You're 5-1. You want to be contenders, host home playoff games. If you're hosting home playoff games, they could absolutely get to the Super Bowl. And once you're in the Super Bowl, you can win it.
I wish they played outside, though.
Yeah.
So playoff games would be nice and cold, extra little home field advantage.
I love the outside games. But I'll just say this, like, Lions fans, don't take this the wrong way. When I say at this point, like, when I think about contenders, I think about the top 2-3 teams in the league. And they're right there. They have a chance to be right there. But I think they got to keep winning and be in position to host some of these teams that I think on paper are a little bit better, right?
Or even get a number 1 seed. Eagles and 49ers are going to take each other out.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's your path. You want a chance to play in fucking February. Going on the road to do it is going to be tough. So, like, you know, look at that schedule. It lines up for you. And I'll say this, talking about the playoffs, 2.5 game lead in the NFC North. They're going to run away with that thing, okay? Easily could be 6-0. And I think the defense has played really well on the road. I think that's the biggest good sign about this team. Like, even though they didn't get pressure yesterday, again, no Montgomery, no sacks, really. Like, it wasn't like in games past. They still found a way to win, and this is a huge tie break. Because you think about the playoffs, if for some reason they lose some games and they're tied with the Bucs or tied with Atlanta, you know, and they're both playoff teams, they get the home game. So I'm talking a lot about home field advantage. I'm talking about playoffs because they have played themselves into this echelon. Now these good teams focus on things like that. So, you know, you want to be a contender, keep winning. You know, and Todd Bowles, more of the same. You know, not going for it down 14 with 10 minutes to go. 4th and 2 on their own 33. I understand it's your own 33, but it's 2023. Mm-hmm. You know, like people are going to kill you for that. So, and get off the field on 3rd and long. They couldn't. Not that we're going to talk about the Bucs a lot more in the NFL season. I mean, I respect what they've done so far, but it's going to be tough for them to be relevant into January. And because that's the cream of the crop. You got them at home, you score 6 points. It's not going to be enough. Okay, like this is one of the best teams in the NFC. I don't mean to be dismissive of the Bucs. I like the Bucs. Their fronts played well. Like they, you know, the offensive line deserves credit, defensive line, but they have to play better than that if they want to beat the best teams in the league.
Trade everything down there.
Yeah, staying in the NFC South. Because Washington, Atlanta, I feel like this was a big game for Atlanta. I feel like everybody's focused on these other games, but if you're an Atlanta Falcon, you know, people aren't paying attention to the Commanders in Atlanta. But if you're a player, like the temperature in that building is hot right now. And I'm just going to say it. I said it, you know, a month ago. I'm going to say it again. If I were Arthur Smith, and I know he's a great kid, and I know he's not a bad player, in the right situation on a juggernaut team, if Desmond Ridder was the quarterback and you had time to ease him in, and he had a, you know, like, I don't know. It's a lot of ifs. That's the problem. It's a lot of ifs. And when you draft a guy in the 3rd round and he's supposed to be a veteran presence, the one thing he can't do is throw the ball to the other team. And early in the season, He didn't have picks, but he threw a ton of turnover-worthy plays.
50-50 balls.
And his hive is like, that's not even a stat. The fuck it is, dude. Because you get into this game and you're trying to win a division that's open, dude. Like there's vacancy in the NFC South. And the D-line's coming along. They're playing well. Drake London and Kyle Pitts getting fucking chunks of yard the same day. Everything's going good. You got this brilliant young running back. So much so that you're seeing stack boxes the whole season. How long are you going to watch this? Mm-hmm. You know, like the football player in me, the reason I'm hard on quarterbacks and the reason y'all fans, you're very emotionally attached to quarterbacks. I'm not emotionally invested. I'm thinking as a football player sitting on my chair every Monday being like, why is the fucking offense averaging 9.5 points a game the last 3 weeks? And we're out here busting our asses.
With a bunch of avatars on
It's not personal. It's a business. And so, like, Desmond Ridder, great dude, good, solid young quarterback. He could still be a guy in this league. But if you're serious about winning right now, this is not the answer. And if I'm proved wrong at some point and he goes on a playoff run, there'll be nobody happier than me. Because I have nothing against the kid, and I like Arthur Smith.
You want to see the Falcons do well.
I love the Falcons. But the 3 picks in the second half were bad. And, like, when you look at the way the picks were thrown, the way they came about, the first one, you got blitz. Everybody's walked up, right? ID the blitz, throw into the blitz, hit Drake London on an out. Instead, he stares down the guy on the other side of the field and throws a pick. The second pick, it's 3rd and 7. You're down 8. You're in the red zone. It's one of the worst red zone picks I've seen. It's like, you could kick a field goal here. You could throw the ball away. There's a ton of options that don't involve throwing a fucking punt to a defensive back in the end zone. It wasn't even competitive. And then the third one, you got a minute to go. You still have a chance. That's how good this team is. You still have a chance. I don't mean like they're a great team right now, but they have potential.
Yeah.
Okay? You have a minute to go with all this having happened. And, that throw to Bijan's got to come right now. Jamin Davis makes that play. I want to give him credit for making that play. But it's got to come out like now, dude. And it's that split second. This team's good, but they're not good enough to overcome stuff like this. And so, I don't know if it's an Arthur Smith thing or if it's an Arthur Blank thing, but I'm starting to feel like watching Arthur Smith's face. He's very frustrated, but powerless would be my guess. And I think maybe there's some like, hey, we got to give Ridder a shot till week 8 or got to get to the bye or something, but you're watching your season slip away right in front of your face. And I want to shout out Calais Campbell, my draft class. He turned out to be the best lineman in that draft class. We had some decent ones, me, Cliff Averill. There were some guys in that class, guys that played a long time, guys that did some numbers, but he just had his 100th sack in the NFL. Such a dog.
That's fire.
So
and
unorthodox.
What a sweetheart, too.
Great guy, dude. With the greatest. I drove back from NFL honors with him, me, Meg, and him. And Meg had never met him, and we're in an SUV. We shared a car 2 years ago. And it was like a 30-minute ride, and we got out, and Meg's like, he's the nicest person like I've ever met that you played against. What a great guy. And like I've always had that experience with him, and he's always been a leader. He's always been respected by his teammates. He was great in Arizona. I used to play him twice a year. And I can remember being on like our media day at the hotel talking about what might happen in the NFL, the whole thing. I'm 38 years old. I'm sitting here doing a fucking podcast. The guy's still playing. He's 6'8". He's still winning rushes, 100 sacks. And the people stood up for him and gave him an ovation like he had been there for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I just think that's special. Because
that's how respected he is in the NFL
he's
community.
Very
Everybody knows Calais.
He's very respected. He's hard to miss. Yeah. And when you hear him talk, you never forget it.
I'm going to talk about the Commanders for a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah, talk about them.
And I forget, we were probably pre-show when we were discussing this, Nolan, but Sam Howell is on pace to break David Carr's record of sacks taken by a quarterback by an astronomical margin.
Mm-hmm. Big sack guy.
The polarizing thing about this offense and this unit up front is they're top 3 in the league in time to pressure the quarterback. So they're protecting their quarterback better than 29 other teams.
Saw that in the Eagles game.
And Sam Howell, and we talk about processing, got to get the ball out. Sam Howell is taking sacks. The defense needs to like yesterday, they gave them 3 short fields on offense. The Commanders had opportunities 3 times in enemy territory to start the drive. That's great. You're going to have to set your guy up to score. But the issue with the Commanders is getting rid of the football. They're protecting him. Bieniemy's the right guy for the job on offense. They're dangerous if you can just get the ball out of your hands. That's my Commanders' take.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, Kyle. We talked about the Eagles. Like, they pressured him a bunch, but time to throw was long. You know, like, he likes taking shots. He likes being aggressive, and I love that. But there are times in the game where you got to operate with more timing.
Take your 6 yards.
Yeah.
Get to 2nd and 4. Now we have options in the offense. Now we don't have to drop back.
They're still in it. Like, they're 500, and I think Eric's doing a really nice job.
They're going to be sneaky.
They are going to be sneaky. They are sneaky, as it is. And, like, you look at what happened to them off a mini bye, getting their asses kicked by Chicago, like making them look like world beaters. I think it was a perfect spot to get on the I won a bunch of money on Washington first half. If you're a gambler, fade Atlanta first half. Just go look at it. Just fade them. Yeah, I should have bet them full game too. But Saints Texans, okay, because we're still talking about the NFC South and the tough day that those teams had. The inverse of the AFC North. For the Saints, it's long drives, dude. It's fucking long drives. It's missed kicks. You know, I don't know. It's 4th and 4. You're throwing the ball in the flat to Alvin Kamara. I mean, like, if you're a Saints fan, I'm talking to you guys. Like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? You used to have fucking trash bags on your head. Like, you used to have like grocery bags on your head. You were the Aints, and then you got this big like era of. But even that great era, like, you got a Super Bowl out of it. You were 7-9 sometimes. Like, it is hard being a Saints fan, and then you come out of it, and Carmichael and Allen were there for the fucking whole thing, basically. Like, I feel like they were there a long time. And it's like they didn't watch. It's like they didn't pick up anything from Sean Payton. And I don't mean to be harsh, because we had Mickey Loomis on the show. Mickey Loomis has done a tremendous job, especially drafting guys up front, which makes the Penning thing look like, what are we doing? But the Saints should be better. Like, there's just no way around it. Competitive defense, some playmakers outside. You got a Swiss Army knife out of the backfield. The offensive line's tough, but other teams work around this shit. You got a veteran quarterback. You go for broke to go get this guy. This is what you were, like, swinging big for? The offense is tough to watch. And I think Saints fans probably feel like, and I'm sure you do, that the Carmichael experiment should be over at some point. You know, like Matt Canada up in Pittsburgh, they're talking about, we're not going to change. Do you have the balls to change things? Because I just think the ceiling, you're going to bump your head on the ceiling of this team all year long if this is the offense.
Way too many weapons.
Way
too many weapons.
Way too many long drives that came up empty. And here's the most fucked up thing about the Saints, Kyle. A couple weeks ago, they were 2-0. Okay? They hadn't beat anybody, but they were 2-0. They were up 17-0 against the Packers on the road. 15 minutes to go in the game. You could be 3-0. Look what's happened since. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like, you could be in cruise control in that division with a 2-game lead, but instead, you're in the thick of it. And it's like a football game where you let teams hang around. The Saints were the best team in this division with the best quarterback. You're letting all these other teams hang around. And it's depressing if you're a Saints fan. 9 plays, 46 yards, missed field goal. 11 plays, 59 yards, missed field goal. 7 plays, 73 yards, 4th and 4, downs. Pick to end the game, 4th and 10. So, like, just tough. And I want to say this because it can't all be about the Saints being bad. The rushers for Houston got after it, boy. Hey, Grenard, I know, like, he hasn't had a bunch of notoriety. He rushed his ass. He was abusing Trevor Penning. And I'm trying to be positive, and I'm trying to turn over a new leaf where I don't get all negative or call guys out. But Trevor Penning is definitely getting called out because he was fucking dirty as hell yesterday. Every time Grenard beat him, and I'm talking about baptize him in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost a few times. Trevor Penning might not come back to work. He might be a missionary. the rest of his life.
Be in Belize.
Okay, he's in Belize somewhere. And they're like, well, we need you because our tackle's down.
Shine.
No hablo football.
But every time Grenard beat him, he was kicking him, bro. He's tripping him. He was kicking him. Like, he was doing Conrad Dobler shit. So I'm going to call that out because I saw you. I saw it. We'll probably put the tape out. And I'm a D-line guy first. Grenard was dogging you. And then fucking Will Anderson. He might not be the guy that like has 15 sacks. He might not be the guy that's like a household name in the league, depending on how. But he's a good player, dude.
Football guy.
He's a football player, dude. Like, I just love the intensity and the speed with which he plays, and he's figuring the rush stuff out. He looks pretty good. He looks quicker in the NFL than he did in college.
That's interesting. I was thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's been something that's been awoken inside of him from a twitchy standpoint.
Well, I don't know what he changed about like his playing weight or anything like that, but I think he's just figuring things out. And you know what I loved about him? Grenard had a sack late in that game. I had to run it back because I was like, oh, did Will get a piece of him? Will was celebrating like he had the sack because he's that kind of guy. We had him on the show. Bless you. And that's the way this team's built. You know, this team's built to encourage each other, to stay in it in fights on the road, to win tight.
It's a look games. What we're capable of,
guys.
Team.
We're. It's very rare that you see a young team like this that's not supposed to do anything, like grow up in front of your eyes this early in the season. And you know, you could write them off the whole thing. I don't think I don't think they're contenders. Not to get into it with a bunch of people again, but I do think they're a tough out. And if you're a Texans fan, like D'Amico Ryans, might be in the driver's seat for Coach of the Year.
How well do they sleep at night knowing that they got the right guy at quarterback?
Like a baby.
You watch him throw the ball.
Like a baby that doesn't wake up every 2 hours.
You watch him throw the football. First off, he may have the prettiest release in the NFL.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, maybe it's because it's new to me watching him play every weekend.
Yeah.
But man, it's beautiful. Their red zone options are great. Their ability to get the ball out. That's what CJ does. He gets the ball out.
Yeah.
And I just think about how many teams across the league are like, we don't have.
How do we miss him? They have a guy. They have a guy, man. You got a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal.
They backed into it.
In a division where, there's the Jags, but outside that, Titans are going through turmoil. You've got to, you have a chance to be Colts. Like, you have a chance to be relevant for a long time. And so I'm excited for them. And here's the biggest thing we haven't even mentioned yet. Dameon Pierce took the league by storm last year. They have not gotten the run game going. Yesterday, I feel like with that offensive line getting back together, putting an effort into it, I did not think this was the game that they were going to get the run game going, but they got it going. So happy for them. They're continuing to improve. Let's get on to the uglies.
Let's hear from our friends at Game Time real quick.
Okay, sweet. I hate buying tickets. I've been playing football my whole life. Never had to buy tickets. The ticket part is stressful. But buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, Kyle, events near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hype for the fun you'll have. And with the Game Time app, it's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Not a real number, but here it is. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code GREENLIGHT for $20. Geez, $20 off your first purchase. Holy shit. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code GREENLIGHT for $20. $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Game Time?
Oh, what happened? I blacked out.
Game Time?
Yeah, that's good.
What happened to G Unit? They were great.
Let's talk about the Uglies.
They were great.
You can find tickets to the Uglies on Game Time. I bet you could get a fucking Carolina ticket for $20 on Game Time.
Oof. Go watch Young Buck in Nashville.
Is he still touring?
Get your tickets on Game Time.
Is he still touring?
I don't think so.
Are you taking a shot at Young Buck here?
Yeah.
I think
50's still touring. I saw him like a few months ago.
I'd love to go to a Young. I've been to a Young Buck show.
50 may be the
I've been to a G Unit show.
Was it awesome?
From what I remember,
they were popping them things.
Yeah, they were popping them things in there.
Every hood they go.
Every hood we go through.
You're the best.
All right,
Okay,
I was trying
so
to think of a. All right, what's up? Oh yeah, we got Vikings at Bears. Vikings at Bears.
Oh,
Now we got a special guest in here. I'm gonna let you and the special guest take it away, Kyle.
we do. We've got Chuck in here, who's a big Bears fan. He's a Western Albemarle warrior. For those of you from Charlottesville, you know Western Albemarle. So Chuck, big Bears fan. He's got a great...
Appreciate the contribution to the Chris Long Foundation. That's why he's here.
And no doubt about it. Thank you for all your support. And we want to have your support as a Bears fan, too. I see you've got a crew neck on. It's a throwback crew neck with a Bears character pissing on a Packers helmet.
Oh,
Take it
yeah.
away, Bears Vikings.
Yeah, so, we had a tough one yesterday.
Aren't they all?
Yeah, aren't they all? I had big hopes coming into this game with Justin Fields looking good for the past few.
Yep.
Personally, I'm still a believer in him. I know that there's been a lot of talk on Caleb Williams.
That's good to hear.
Coming to Chicago. I've put a lot of emotional investment in Chicago and especially into Fields. I was sort of hoping that this game would turn out a little bit differently, but of course he went down pretty early in the second half, which, same old Bears. But, Tyson Bagent coming in, the guy looked elusive. I know he had that tough fumble, which, obviously is brutal, but then led a nice little drive there.
Yeah, he did.
In that second half, which just...
Got to finish.
Yeah, you got to finish, of course. And if there's one thing advice I can say, just get the ball to DJ Moore, number 2, man.
Get
Yeah,
the
that's
ball to
pretty good
DJ
advice.
Moore.
That's pretty good advice.
Chuck, well done.
But
Yeah.
he looks well rested. He looks sane for a Bears fan. Like the Bears fans are doing good taking all this in stride.
This is a first-time, long-time situation for Chuck. He's joining us now, local fan, and he's a Bears fan. I'm going to give you a couple cents of mine on the situation. Justin Fields, obviously very talented.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm a Bears fan, I say, well, we've got a bird in the hand. Well, now we don't. We've got a thumbless bird in the hand.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a really good-looking bird over there in the bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, in order to convince his ownership, his management, that he is the guy, would have needed to go out after those 2 performances we saw that lit the world on fire.
Yeah.
He would have had to go out and do that for the rest of the year to even have a chance to scratch that itch for management not to pick Caleb Williams. The writing's on the wall. This is the last year that we'll see Justin Fields in Chicago. I'm not sure whether they can even make a trade for him now with his damaged goods.
Yeah.
But I think
How hurt is he?
he dislocated his thumb. You and I both
Throwing hand.
on his throwing hand. You and I both know how bad that is.
Yeah, it's not good.
X-rays negative last night. He was probably in the tube this morning. They're going to reveal most likely ligament damage. I'm not sure the extent of it, but anytime you dislocate something, if something in your body goes where it's not supposed to go, you're going to be stretching the rubber bands out a little bit, and sometimes they can get cut. But you got to get Caleb Williams. You got to get Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
If these guys
You're not going to.
If these guys are available.
You're not going to get Caleb Williams.
Why?
Because I think you're going to win too many games the rest of the year.
I don't
Well,
think
that's
so.
the thing. We got can Carolina win that many games?
Dude,
Yeah, look at Carolina, dude.
the race
Not,
is
Carolina's
on.
not going to.
Chris,
Somebody's going to trade into that spot.
The race
You're going to
is
have to
on.
trade into a spot to grab it.
The race is
Yeah.
on.
Maybe
is,
use that
is what
one.
I'm saying.
Yeah. The race is on. You're in the race.
Bagent is going to be the quarterback next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to that game too. So, we're hoping that Bagent can put up something nice against the Raiders. But
We've got issues up front. We've got guys who are playing out of position. My dear friend Cody Whitehair was playing center yesterday. He took a beating in the media because he was having trouble snapping the
Does
ball
the coach
accurately.
survive though, Kyle?
I don't think the coach
I don't
survives.
think so.
So you keep the GMs. You GMs.
I think you
'cause
retain
Ian
Ian
and
you
Ryan.
retain Ryan.
Now, I could also see Ian getting a sweet job at some point here because he turned down a Swedish job last year.
I want to see Justin Fields have success in this league. Unfortunately, it has run its course in Chicago.
Somebody's going to have success with Justin Fields.
Man, I would love
Mark
to
my
see him
words.
in Atlanta.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to say
Carolina.
it. Justin Fields is going to have success in this league.
I want to see him in Atlanta.
Kyle might not think it's going to be in Chicago, but I think at some point this story's not over for him.
It's
get
not.
that ball out.
But
Yeah.
I want to read the next chapter as
Yeah.
a Bears fan.
Yep.
Anything else, Chuck? What did I miss, Chuck?
Defense didn't look too bad.
No. They got some guys back.
They got some guys back.
Chuck
Looked
crushed
pretty
that breakdown.
He did. Way to go, Chuck.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, fellas.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Chuck.
good. Thanks for having me.
And now a big round of applause for Dianna Russini. She's going to be coming in probably, 30 seconds? Or she's on. So big round of applause for our first guest on the live show, Dianna
Let's
Russini.
go!
Yo, what's up with the blue background?
I kind of felt like I needed to be more professional. The bookshelf's
you.
so The bookshelf was like, hi, I'm trying to be smart, like I'm trying to be important. This is just like, nothing's distracting. It's just,
dude,
you just got purple by me.
Long time no see. Congrats on the gig. I know we talked a little bit about that. I hope you're enjoying it. And I know like now's the time where you're a real hot commodity around here. There's a lot of trade talk, a lot of coaches talking, coaches getting fired and all that sort of stuff. So we got a lot to dig in with Dianna. Where should we start? What's your favorite story?
Oh my gosh. First, let's just start with the last time I saw you two together. You were with the Eagles. Kyle, you were obviously with the Bears. You guys were playing against each other. That was one of the wildest divisional games I've ever covered.
Oh, double doink.
Oh, I remember that game.
Double doink. Sidelined. I have video clips of you two being very, very emotional after that game. That was.
We got to get those.
Yeah, I would love those.
You know what? I'll send them.
Yeah, because insider at the Athletic, so you do have some inside videos, some behind the scenes stuff.
You got pull.
I do. You're not supposed to even be shooting on the sideline actually with your own camera during the game. It's like illegal. When I was at ESPN, I was like, yeah, whatever, and I would just
you got to toe
clip
that line.
them. Just Well, I didn't toe the line actually, Kyle, at all. I just did it. So anyway, I have these great clips of you guys, and I do think you'll really appreciate it because they're better than the TV
I appreciate you
We
giving
love that.
Kyle a couple years to get over that loss before you send him.
Thanks, Dianna.
By that I mean like a half decade. Hey, Dianna, I'll start with the Jets because I feel like that's the thing we've been talking about the longest. Like, it looks like the Jets are just going to ride this thing out. How much of it has to do with Minnesota's unwillingness and Kirk's unwillingness more so to move? And I don't blame him, honestly.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Let's just start with the Jets. Like, they've been so consistent on this Zach Wilson belief and confidence since Aaron Rodgers went down. And, you try to poke holes in it when you're like, okay, just don't give me the company line. Tell me what the real plan is. And it was hard to find anyone that was willing to go, yeah, we're actually thinking about calling Minnesota. They never called Minnesota from what I know, and Minnesota never called them. Like they have been all in on Zach Wilson, and the kind of game you saw them playing in last night against the Eagles is really what they've been looking to do. They had the same kind of game against the Patriots as well. Just sloppy, keep the game close. And look, Nathaniel Hackett is learning Zach Wilson as well, and he's figured out how to change his game plan from Aaron Rodgers' strength at a graduate level, we'll call it, to simplifying it and playing into Zach's strength. So that's where I think it's working for them. And obviously after a win like last night, they're all in now on Zach. So let's talk about the Viking side of it. Look, guys, the three of us are the perfect people to ask. None of us want to move ever, right?
No,
like you have a
exactly.
family, your roots are set. You've got two little boys, like I spent some time with Kirk in the summer, and he just seems happy, man. Like I've covered Kirk forever, and I've seen him when he's miserable. He's not miserable. He likes Minnesota. He likes this offense. He loves Kevin O'Connell. So it would make no sense for him to waive this trade clause. And Minnesota doesn't want to get rid of him. Chris, I think there's a chance Minnesota may even be having conversations about keeping Kirk in the building past this year.
Wow.
Potentially drafting a rookie, but I
him.
think ideally they would like to have Kirk in there be that sort of in-between quarterback.
Yeah.
And then get a rookie in there.
What we saw with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes.
It's so interesting because Dianna makes a great
dream,
point.
right?
That's exactly like this week I woke up and it's like when things happen, you automatically are like, okay, just make the trade. Just do it, right? Like we're all like, just do it. It's simple. But he's got the clause, and if you look at his career, he's going to be up next year. He still wants to make more money. Like you lose a little bit of your control when you go somewhere new. And like maybe for him, as exciting as it is to get him to New York, it's like that's not so exciting to him. Like I like working with Kevin, not Nathaniel Hackett. I got Justin Jefferson here who's hurt now and that sort of thing, but like I'm comfortable. You saw me on that quarterback TV show, like my family has roots here. I think it makes a lot of sense. But for Minnesota, let me ask you this, Dianna. What do you think the chances of Danielle Hunter being traded are? And I know KJ Osborne has been thrown around, Harrison Smith, important guys to them, but where they are right now, I especially think Hunter, you should get something for him.
Yeah, Hunter, if there's anyone from Minnesota that I think would move, it would be him. I think he's the only one there that's getting, we'll call it, interests from a significant amount of teams around the league. But in terms of a team that is busy on the phone right now, it's Denver, right? Like they're the team that is in a completely different space than Minnesota. Minnesota's not giving up on they're not in that headspace at all.
Right.
They've been rebuilding and retooling, but I don't get the sense that they're like, this is a mess. I mean, you you get rid of some of those turnovers, and we're talking about a Minnesota team like last year. They're on pace. Their offense is on pace for like record-setting stats. So they think they still got something good, and we'll see when JJ gets back. If they can make a little push here.
How about the tush push? Because it's everybody's favorite thing to talk about. My take is be better at it. Like if everybody else wants to complain about it, like the other teams have tried it, have not been able to do it. So it's a skill, not a cheat code. But now the NFL has said, and I think I read this right, that they're worried about the optics of it. Like it's just ugly. Well, are they going to take the Falcons off the field? Like, are we not allowed to? Falcons can't play football anymore? Like, what's going on here? It's too ugly for the NFL?
Yeah.
We love this.
Get rid of some ugly players, ugly coaches too.
Yeah.
His face is busted.
Yeah, that dude's busted.
That's what we should do. We should do a top 5 list of ugliest people in the NFL.
Don't do it. Don't do it, because usually the guys that are the ugliest, they could probably beat me up. I don't want to do that list.
Yeah, you two are very, very far from that list.
But what gives, Dianna?
Yeah, so I think that alarm, we'll call it, we got to ban this thing. That started. I mean, the conversation's been kind of happening, the whispers for weeks now. Every time we see the Eagles do it, but I know Schefter reported it before Sunday morning of last week, and so I just put out some feelers of like, are they really going to try to eliminate this thing because of that? And everyone's like, no one is taking it that seriously. There are some people in the league office that had that sentiment of what you just said, that they think it's ugly, right? But the competition committee does not feel that way about it. Even when it came up last year, it was so, in terms of the list of, the agenda of things that they cared about, it was so on the bottom, like, well, whatever, let's move along. And that seems to be the tone from some of the people and members that I've spoken to, over the last week or so. So I just think it's one of those topics that people just like to talk about right now. And you're right. Just figure out a way to stop it.
League office evaluating the Patriots offense. And, just go down the list. Sanction those guys. One that's really interesting to me. Okay, like we saw, it's interesting because the two teams are playing each other. It had me thinking Baltimore, I think, has to make a move for somebody at some point, whether it's a running back or a better wide receiver, like to give them another piece. What if you're looking at running backs, and maybe it's not just for Baltimore. I threw out names like Derrick Henry because that train's been going a while, and it doesn't seem like you're in the place where you can use him. Spears is getting more touches. Saquon, like he's gonna rot there. Are there top dollar kind of like blue chip running backs who actually might get moved to one of these teams?
Can really just apply.
Okay, Dianna Russini cut out. We got her back. Dianna, you could start off with that running back question again.
Yeah, I was just breaking a huge story and it cut out. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, really? I was like, okay, break it here. Break it here.
There's going to be a Monday where I pop on here and I'm going to try to hold a story for you guys, and we'll try to do it right here. Like we'll just say, awesome. Even if it's not that big, I just think it'll be cool.
We like small stories too.
Break it down. Yeah. No, we'll do a big one. We'll do a big. We'll do it all.
Didn't I break your retirement, which was a pretty big story? Kyle?
You did. Kyle, Chris he gave me nothing on it, right? I am so loyal to Chris. Chris could like yell on this show right now. Dianna Russini's family is the worst. They're the worst people in the world. I hate them all. And I'd still be like, I love Chris Long. I'd do anything for him. Right. And we've had this great friendship for years now. And I'm like, hey man, I'm just like this like scrappy, hardworking reporter trying to make a name for myself at ESPN. No one knows who the hell I am. Kyle, I'm like, is Kyle retiring? He's like, don't know.
I didn't know.
Tweets it.
I didn't know. It actually broke like 3 minutes before I tweeted. Kyle was like, "Yep, I'm doing it."
Yeah.
But like,
I tried to sneak back in so nobody noticed.
I'm sorry about that, Diana. I also phased out like my boys at Pardon My Take. I just couldn't tell anybody. This is my one big story. You would have cucked me on that. You would have took that story and you would have gone right to the press with it, and I would have been like, Diana, you can't come on the show now. You took my one.
No, I really. You know how much I hold. It is infuriating. And by the way, that's not like a flex. I know so much.
Yeah.
What are you holding on to?
Yeah, what are you holding on to? No, what do you think with the running back? So you think is there one? Are you holding on to something with Saquon? Are you holding on to something with Derrick Henry here?
Look, let's just go back to when Saquon, all the drama this offseason with him. Joe Shane pretty much showed his cards on how he feels about running backs, right? Like we know how he feels. I think if it was up to Joe alone, I think we would see movement of Saquon, right? But ownership values him. He's the face of the franchise. You guys know I live in New Jersey. It's Giants land here. And now Jets, of course, because, everyone here is just a traitor. Since they beat the Eagles now. Ownership just, they love Saquon. And the Giants really don't have a face. So I don't see that getting the sign off from ownership. But
that's just wild. It's wild.
I know.
These owners, they get crushes on players, and then it's like, I like this player so much, I'm gonna get him killed. Like he's just gonna be the whole offense here, and I'm gonna get him killed. Okay.
The Derrick Henry thing is, you're right about that. Like I don't know who's going to be in the business of going after Derrick Henry. I don't know what the price would be for him. You got to figure a third rounder for Derrick Henry right now, right?
I'm coughing that up if I'm a contender. I'm coughing that up if I'm the Chiefs, if I'm the Ravens, and I don't want to say the Ravens are contenders necessarily, but I'm coughing that up. This guy's got one good year in him for sure.
Let's use it.
Use it.
Diana, I want to ask you a question about a team that stands out to me so much on one side of the ball, and that's the Cleveland Browns. And I know they've got a situation at the quarterback position that's been in the news a lot lately. What have you heard lately from Deshaun with his shoulder, with ownership, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's one of these stories that when you're gathering information, it seemed very cut and dry to me. I was like, okay, this is what's happening. But then I started to go on Twitter, which is the devil. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's like a narrative out there that people think he doesn't want to play. So from the information I have, it was basically Stefanski kind of misspoke a little. Yes, Deshaun was medically cleared. But in terms of the pain he was dealing with, that was still there. I had another head coach from another team say to me, well, why does he just get it shot up? Like he'd be fine. And so I think that narrative is kind of circling him. But people I spoke to, and I dug on that one over the weekend, they all were like, look, he is trying to get back. This isn't, and even like some of his teammates were telling me, like, he's done everything to try to get back. This isn't like some weird, where he's just being soft. So it's like a bruised rotator cuff. It's just throwing arm. And look, he's the franchise. They're not gonna take any big risk. And with this defense, they have that luxury, right?
No question.
And we all know how the meeting goes. If you get banged up. I remember we were playing against New England, and I met Hightower in the hole, Dante Hightower, who was a monster, and you're not supposed to hit him. So my shoulder didn't agree with it. I remember I separated my AC. I went in and I got evaluated, and they were like, "Oh, this is a 1 week, 2 week deal. You're going to wear a brace." Yeah. I went and I got a second opinion, and they were like 4 to 6.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you always double it.
Each of these situations, Deshaun going to get his own opinion, Deshaun having the right as an athlete and a human being to say, I'm not ready to go. I think there should be no argument.
It's also interesting, and we'll let Diana sign off after this, but I just like for teams when they put out an expectation, it's always interesting to read what the expected timeline is, because as a player, I always realized they're saying something there. They're not just doing it because they have to. Yeah. They're oftentimes putting that out there as like to put pressure on you, the player, even though you might not even know what the real timeline is yet. They slap that 4 to 6 on there, and all of a sudden it's week 5 and people are looking at you and they play into that pressure. So
he's played hurt before. It's not something he hasn't
done.
Yeah. So.
Yes. And a point that was made to me from someone with the Browns was like, don't you think if it was more serious, we'd have put him on IR?
Yeah, exactly.
Like So I think it's just figuring out the pain tolerance. There's no structural damage, and we'll see how he goes this week. But
well, that's great. We finally had a guest on here, and it's the one we wanted, Dianna Russini. So senior.
Wait, am I really your first guest?
Yeah, it's you and Jeff Fisher. So as soon as I can get Coach Fisher on here, he'll be the other one. But yeah, we've been in negotiations with a couple guests here, and one of them happens to be the senior NFL insider at The Athletic, which is a publication that I read all the time. You know, even though I lose my passwords all the time. Maybe you can help me with that.
Thank you so much, Dianna.
So
great talking to you.
Appreciate you, Dianna.
Guys, I know. Guys, keep up those great videos you post on social of just random hot takes in your refrigerators and under the tables. And
appreciate it.
You guys are just, I love it. We're all in parenting hell together. So congrats on everything, guys.
Yeah, congrats to you and your growing family. That's awesome.
Thanks, Dianna.
All right, Dianna,
Bye,
see you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're gonna hit. We appreciate Dianna coming on. Great background. She really.
I like it.
She's a total pro. You think Deshaun can get any body work? I had to say that.
That's what I was just about to say.
He's like, I can't get anything done. I got a bruised rotator cuff.
I can't get my arm rubbed.
I got to go to Sharper Image and sit in one of the massage chairs. I can't.
He goes to the airport with a bag of quarters and sits in the fucking
they're like,
chairs.
Not here either, sir. Okay, so we've got a couple more ugly games that we want to talk about, and they'll be quick before we get to the Miller Lite moments. We just talked about Minnesota, Chicago, Chuck with the assist there, and then we've got Carolina, Miami. And listen, as a Kevin Harlan stan, like, you know, you say you want 5 people at your dinner table. It's like Willie Nelson, Jesus, Andre 3000. It might be Kevin Harlan. Like, Kevin Harlan might be seat number 4 because I just want to hear him talk.
For me, it's Charles Davis.
Charles Barkley, too. So there's my 5.
Charles Davis and Charles Barkley.
That might be my 5.
Sit them next to each other.
Charles Davis and Charles Barkley. But Shaq and Chuck.
Yeah. Just bring the NBA on TNT to my house.
Yeah, just bring the NBA on TNT. Make Kenny the Jet get up and get everything out of the kitchen to watch him walk. So I just love Kevin Harlan. He was on the call. The Panthers showed up. It's 14-0. You're like, damn, this team's got some fight. And they did. They look good. And I want to shout out Adam Thielen, who everybody thought was an afterthought. He went 11 for 115 yesterday. He leads the NFL in targets, receptions, yards, and TDs from the slot. But this is the Miami Dolphins, man. Like, they're like the Warriors where no lead is safe. Even without Achane.
It's boom, boom, boom.
It's boom, 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 bang, Kyle.
I mean.
And then all of a sudden, I talked about that moment of truth. They're up 14-0. They have their moment of truth before the half. You know, they miss a field goal, and you're like, oh, we're fucked. They're getting the ball out of the half.
And this is a team that leads the league in rushing average per game. They lead the league in passing average per game, and they're without Devin Achane, who has been a lightning rod for this offense. And who do they have in there? Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
And if you look at Raheem Mostert's full body work, he's second all time on yards per carry, which means not only is he getting the 4-yarders, but he's going to bust a 60 for you as well. And Mike McDaniel knows that. Obviously, kudos to Bryce Young and those guys coming out hot early. Yeah. People like to see the Panthers score points, but you can't score enough points when you're playing the Dolphins. You can't miss opportunities.
When you watch them beat bad teams last year, it was just like a bloodbath, right? And it was the passing game. And this year, the passing game's still elite, right? Like they've been racking up numbers, but when you watch them and they want to just take care of a team, they're like, let's just get this over with. They just run the ball, you know? And, certainly you're going to get a million Tyreek Hill deep crossers and he's going to be open.
Doing backflips with somebody's cell phone.
But
that was crazy.
The way they're able to morph into this rushing football team when they have to just handle business. Like, I know there were times where they went to the air yesterday, but this is a nice thing to have in your back pocket. You're never going to be one-dimensional.
Jason Garrett talking about him last night on Sunday Night Football in America. He was just gushing over the Dolphins, and his eyes light up. And the more I watch him, the more I'm like, that's just who he is.
He's excited.
He's excited.
He's excited. He's the guy you want to be excited about something you're excited about.
Every time he gets pumped, I'm pumped.
Yeah. All right, so we got Vegas and New England. Here's something that is interesting about this whole thing, and we have officially hit rock bottom in New England. Unbelievable that it's gotten to this. I mean, like, that place was a cathedral when I went in there. It was like going to, what is it, the papacy? What do they call that?
Go to St. Peter's Basilica.
Yeah. I was going to the papacy. I was meeting the Pope. It was beautiful. They had fucking
you were in the
naked
Papal
guys
State.
on the ceiling, like with outstretched arms.
Belichick's the Pope?
He's one of them.
Okay.
Belichick definitely drives the car.
There's some Cardinals in there. You know, you had Ernie. Ernie was a Cardinal. You had our guy in Houston now who's a Cardinal. But the Pope was Brady, right? I guess that would make like Tom Jesus. But, you know, it's changed, man. I don't know. The people aren't the collection's not as full.
The milk's gone bad.
Yeah, dude. It's tough. You go to Vegas 2 years in a row, it's like I couldn't get last year's play out of my head, which was Chandler Jones, former Patriot, ripping your heart out. Now this year, it's like Jacoby Myers catching a touchdown. Josh is now 3-0 against. Did I read that right? Josh is 3-0 against Bill.
How about Max Crosby?
Max Crosby, Kyle, makes me miss football more than any human being on the planet.
Yes.
I can barely watch him play because I just get so I want to play.
That's
and
like when I watch Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
Just running around being a meathead.
We all have that guy that, like, you know, you're just like, fuck. It looks so fun. I remember that stuff. I mean, not the level he did it, but it's just like
Max is getting a tight end, a fullback, and a running back.
And he never stops. He never stops. And he loves running into stuff. And the emotion he plays with, man, like, if I could play with anybody in the league, like I talk about guys I'd like to play with, like Max Crosby, dude. So yeah.
I'll play next to Trent Williams.
Yeah. Hey, Trent, we got a bunch of hyenas over here. But I just Max Crosby. When I tiered the rushers the other day, some guy on Twitter was asking me for tiers of rushers. I can't do rankings suck, okay, because they're too binary. They're too it's not
styles make fights every week.
So there's too many nuances. But I put Myles Garrett 101. Myles Garrett's 1 of 1. Okay, you want to know why he's 1 of 1? Watch him against Trent Williams.
Oh, it was a tough day at the office. Trent had to earn his money yesterday.
Nobody makes Trent Williams earn his money. Not Micah Parsons, not T.J. Watt. Myles Garrett's the best rusher in the league, okay? Mm-hmm. And no offense to the other guys, because they're in this overlapping tier that's like 20% of it's overlapping with. Here are the two guys in that tier. It goes TJ and Micah in that like little like second. I don't even want to say second tier because it's disrespectful because there's like 10 of them. The next guy has his own tier, and you better put him there.
That's
and you better put him there above all these other guys that I think are really, really good rushers. You know, kind of that Josh Allen, kind of Danielle Hunter, Hutchinson. All those guys are really good. Crosby, and I've been banging this fucking drum for years. I was banging it before you knew who he was. I said he's gonna have just as much production as Nick Bosa. Okay? I remember Mina was on the show. She was like, okay. This motherfucker is in his own tier. There's the Superman, there's like the God tier. That's Myles Garrett. There's like the superhero tier. And then there's like the hell on wheels, rolling ball of butcher knives. There's only one of these motherfuckers tier, and that's Max Crosby. And I love watching him play. That's our whole breakdown.
For me, the Max Crosby style.
Don't get me excited talking about Max Crosby.
For me, the Max Crosby style is he can beat you any number of ways.
Who likes Max? Go ahead.
And Chris Jones is a guy that can line up on the inside or the outside and beat you with power. He can beat you with speed. He can beat you with hands.
Yeah.
So I think those two guys are in a league of their own where they transcend scheme, they transcend style.
Yeah.
They can do things the way that they want to do, and it's a rare breed that can make the game what they want it to be.
And the thing I like about Max is he doesn't think about making mistakes, which is something I never did as a player. I was always like, I want to do things right. And so, like, part of me is like, I want to be Max, where you're just like,
fuck it,
let's go. And, like, you know, like, I'm going to knock 3 people over 4 yards in the backfield. If I get reached, I get reached. But he's like on his track, and he's been dominant. So we love Max Crosby. Who likes Max Crosby more, me or Baldy? Like Baldy has a different video for Max Crosby, and I have no issue. Every day I see a new Max Crosby video from Baldy. Baldy's fighting the good fight. Okay, so New England is a shit show. Lastly, and this should take 30 seconds.
Didn't see it.
Arizona and the Rams. Guys, yeah, a lot of what Kyle said. Now, I did have it on the small TV, but I'm not going to get to this game till Wednesday.
I had it on my Game Boy.
But Kyron Williams was great. Mm-hmm. Puka Nakua's come down to earth. I still think he's probably good, but the numbers yesterday.
How did Higbee do?
He's blocking his tail off yesterday.
Dude, he's a fucking good player. Okay?
I put a 60 and a half yards over on Higbee yesterday. I wonder if he hit it.
You don't even know.
Don't even know.
Okay.
2 receptions, 18 yards.
Fuck! They got all this whipping.
Yeah, they do. That's the problem. Too many weapons.
I work in pregame on Sunday, guys.
Yeah.
I say things and then I leave and I don't have to answer for them.
Yeah, exactly. Postgame sucks because you're like, I can't hide.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to our Miller Lite moments. But first, I've got an ad read. Whatever you're looking forward to this football season, there's one thing that pairs well with every great moment, an ice-cold Miller Lite. Whether you're at a stadium playing fantasy football or watching the game at home or the bar, Miller Lite is here to make your football season taste like Miller time. Hell, if you're a Patriots fan and you just lock the door on Sundays and drink Miller Lite, that'll work too. From kickoff till the clock runs out, you can't go wrong with a Miller Lite in your hand. Maybe you're Bill Belichick, you want to go home and build model ships and don't fucking worry about the tape. You want to crack over a Miller Lite.
His toy train collection has to be out of this world.
Oh, Kyle, I
Fake
want to see
smell
his
machine.
boats. I want to see his little boats in the bottles. I never got to see them. It's the only light beer with the taste worthy of our national obsession, which is pigskin. Because what's the point of having a beer if it doesn't taste like, well, beer? Okay, so I've got this bar I love, Dirty Nelly's. That's going to come up in a second. I was there this weekend. It's got 96 calories, Miller Lite, 3.2 carbs, and 12 per 12-ounce serving with a smooth taste and a crisp, clean finish. You get the taste you crave without the calories. So this season, crack open a light beer that hits your taste buds so hard you feel it in your heart. When I go to Dirty Nelly's, they got it ready. It's just sitting there for me. It's not open because you don't want like anybody breathing on it, but it's there. That's my beer, and I sit and I watch the little corner TV next to the fireplace.
Put a mask on your beer.
Yeah, no. So make it Miller time all season long. Wherever your favorite bar is, set the tone, walk in there, order a Miller. They'll figure it out eventually. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/greenlight, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Chris, can I
It's
say
nothing.
something really
Yeah.
quick? I'm looking at the Tulane flag on the wall, and I did an interview the other day for CBS Sports HQ, and at the end, they were mentioning some jerseys. They were talking about Tulane, and I was like,
Beautiful.
jerseys. And they were like, they're stepping it up over there. Did you hear that they're expanding?
Oh, I was going to hit you
and
with
he
it.
said, no. What do you mean? And I said, they're going to be 4 lane.
Oh, God.
And I sat there, I was remote, and I was like, and there was no laugh. It was live TV. There was no laugh.
No way.
Didn't get it.
You did a 4-lane on live TV?
He didn't get it.
You know, the thing that makes Macon work in here, Kyle, and his shtick is that everybody works around it. You're not going to have that.
I did a good segment, and at the end, I was like,
Yeah.
did you hear about the expansion?
I do a lot of the. All right. So we've got the mentions here.
Okay, it was worth saying.
I'm glad you're brave for that. Also, I want to add one more America's team, the Philadelphia Phillies. While we were on the Delaware, they just kept winning. What can I say?
Bryce Harper is a
They
vibe.
took it personal.
Bryce Harper was like, you know what?
Fuck him.
I'm not going to tag up a couple days ago. We're not even going to need
sick.
this one. We're not going to need this one against the Braves. We're just going to come back and win the next couple.
He
So,
seems like such a bro.
bro, how about somebody who's
That's a clown question, bro.
has anybody's approval rating gone up more than Bryce Harper as time's gone on?
Jay Cutler.
Yeah, that's
That's a good one.
Yeah, he had a good.
That's a great
So I
one.
just think like Bryce, when he got in the league, everybody was like, "Oh, the fucking golden boy, the Washington Nationals, blah blah blah." He doesn't run to first sometimes. He gets mad, and then it was like Philly was the perfect place for him. Like he found his place, and Philly's good at that. Like they'll be like, "Come over here, you're gonna like this place. Like it's gonna be a good fit." Same with Nick Castellanos, who's an interesting post game interview as well.
So where's the question?
Where's the question in that? Like, guy complimented him. Where's the question?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Baseball players, different birds.
So
Okay,
different.
so let's go Miller Lite mentions.
Yeah, Miller Lite mentions. I think we'll start with the best flight, correct?
I think that's what we're going to do.
You know,
Kyle.
there was a long flight yesterday.
Okay.
There was 2 long flights, one of which housed the Baltimore Ravens
Housed.
and Roquan Smith, who was enjoying sweet dreams on the plane when Marlon Humphrey came up and conducted a post-game interview with,
did he?
with a dead man on a plane.
Did he?
He took Roquan's asleep in his seat.
Yeah.
Marlon comes up and he's like, this guy right here, great gig, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And he's not responding, so he moves his his headphones away from his ear so he can continue talking. Roquan played asleep. Here it is on the thing. Roquan's in his chair. Do you even hear me? We're just going to do this right here. We're
going to do this right here.
He's like, leads our defense, like 11 tackles. And then halfway through, he said something, and Roquan couldn't keep it together. He looked over, laughed. Roquan was playing dead.
He was playing dead. He was playing possum.
Dead. And we talked about a great day yesterday from the Baltimore Ravens defense. They stepped up, and they had the best flight. What you got, Chris?
I'm going to go Washington Commanders. That's but a regional flight, Kyle. You know, Atlanta to Washington. I would say Washington Commanders is pretty good. You could say, golly, I mean, looking at these flights, Seattle had to have a tough flight. I mean, was that game a 4:25 or 1?
3.
It was a 1. Okay, it was a 1. They all run together.
The hours do run together.
They really do. I can't tell, but I think probably the best flight was Washington, and the worst flight for me, the Patriots. Anywhere they fly, it's a 4:25. Like, it's a fucking 4:25. I've been in those situations. They probably got home at 2 a.m.
The chowder's cold by that time.
Dude, the pressure. Yeah, the chowder's all. It's cold. There's no more time to build boats. For Bill, like, he's just got to go to bed. But, like, when we played Arizona out there on Sunday night, we got home at I walked into my little apartment in Foxborough at 7 a.m. And so, like, the length of time it takes to get home is ridiculous. That had to be an awful flight.
And it probably sucks leaving Las Vegas. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm here.
It's a tease.
Yeah.
It's like I've been in Foxborough, like, and I finally busted out to somewhere that's got, like, civilization and the whole thing.
Lights and bright, shiny things and the cool dome.
Playing in that. I want to go to that dome so bad.
Yeah.
Couple boomers, couple lawn chairs.
The Sphere.
The Sphere.
The Sphere.
There's a part Kyle.
Me and Adam Shine are going to go.
Let's go. I'm going with you.
We're covering the Super Bowl for CBS.
Deal?
He and I agreed to this. He was like, I'm going.
Okay, here's what I'm doing, Kyle. So I'm going too, but there's a building next to it. I don't know what the access points are to the roof, but I'm just going to get up there with a couple of lawn chairs. I think that's going to be the way to go.
Why don't you go in the Sphere?
People, Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh, inside the Sphere.
Yeah.
Now,
they had
inside
a U2 concert there.
Maybe a different band, but if there's...
Yeah, just sick.
What's the band you'd want to see inside the Sphere?
Outcast.
Khruangbin?
Ooh.
That'd be a great band.
That'd be a good one.
Led Zeppelin.
Like Fully Alive, though. Fully touring and shit.
But I mean,
Chili Peppers
would
would
be
cool in
artwork
there.
they can span 200 feet in the air on this giant... Oh, man. It's unbelievable.
Kyle, what's your worst flight?
Worst flight. But I got to talk about the best flight. It's also the best flight because the flight attendants on these flights from Europe, first off, not bad looking.
Okay.
Also, the best accents. If you're from the United States,
bonk.
You're dealing with a different world, right? They're asking you if you want any tea instead of coffee. And they're nice. They're nice.
Where's my mallet?
My worst flight, Tennessee.
Bonk you.
Tennessee.
Yeah. That's a bad flight.
I don't even know where they played.
You were out there 2 days.
They might have been home.
Yeah.
No, they weren't. But you know what?
Yeah.
Worst flight. Long flight. After that loss, terrible.
Did I give you my worst flight? Yeah, New England. Another thing about playing in Vegas is, like, you see people partying. Like, they're those fieldside suites. We went down there for a Vegas Eagles game last year or 2 years ago. And there was a time when Vegas throttled the Eagles, and I wasn't surprised 2 years ago. That's how far this team's come. But, like, on that field, I'm like 90% of the people close to the field are not watching the game.
No.
It's bottle service. It's flight attendant types. Kyle.
Flight attendant. World travelers. The whole
multiple
thing. Major metro areas in your Instagram profile.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in Dubai,
Miami, Los Angeles,
Dallas, airplane emoji.
Atlanta in the spring.
Look at all these nice hotels I'm at. All right. So, anyways,
Bevel
let's get to Bevel Conway. It's definitely creamsicles. You're so wrong. This is the worst take you've ever had, Kyle.
You watch
canceled.
You watch Sunday Night Football?
That game as a whole? Yeah, Giants were beautiful, but the Bills in red, that's a better matchup with somebody else.
Bills red, Giants throwbacks. Tyrod Taylor looked amazing. That stadium, the red light that just emanates from under the upper deck. The heaters.
Oh, that's the best. They're the heaters, but it looks
so cool, man. Yeah. And then I have an anti-Bevel
Yeah, good.
Conway.
We should do this more often.
Okay, anti-Bevel Conway. I'm sitting there last night with my beautiful wife, Kate, and we're watching the Eagles and the Jets. And she says, you know what?
It was ugly.
My brain hurts.
It was ugly.
My brain hurts because you think Eagles, you think green, but they're in white and they're in black. And then you look at the Jets and they're in green and the field's green. And everybody's wearing fucking different shades of green. No wonder the quarterbacks are just fucking throwing the ball to everybody else.
Throwing pigs. No, I agree with you. Kyle, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I turned to those guys. I said, no amount of homerism in me would allow me to say that this getup from the Eagles looks good. It is their worst combination. The black pants got to go unless you're going black lids or all black.
They look like a movie football team.
I think they're playing in their Kelly Green next week.
Great.
Cannot wait. That is going to be gorgeous.
Sight for sore eyes.
Yeah. It's like the fucking last dock we got to at the end of the pumpkin trip. Sight for sore eyes. Get us out of these black uniforms. We're playing the Dolphins. Let's look good, play good next week. Okay.
Hollow Man.
Fuck, I don't know.
I got one.
Yeah.
Tennessee, punt returner, Kyle Phillips.
Yeah, and then D-Hop wouldn't sit on the bench.
And you know what? I don't think there was much to talk about.
Overestimate?
It's the end of the half.
He was
Hopkins
just getting
was
up.
sitting. Now he's getting up to get ready to go to the locker room.
DeAndre Hopkins stands. You know, like, that's where we are.
People were like, he hates him.
Yeah. Hollow Man. I don't know. Let me go through. Hollow Man.
Malik Willis?
No, not Malik Willis. Probably Ritter. And I don't want to beat the kid up. But like when you guys are mean to me about a take, I always give it back a little bit. Okay, you guys really. Oh, I'm so immature, dude. Kyle, we put out that Ritter video like a month ago where I was like, I don't know, and people were like, die. And I got in the middle of that Jacksonville game in London, I was going back to a 3-week-old YouTube video answering all the comments.
I love that.
And then I might go back again. Okay. Anyways, I don't take joy in it. It's just you against me. You made it that way. Fly on the wall. Did Kelsey and Rodgers talk? Did Mr. Pfizer and Mr. Johnson & Johnson talk on the field?
1,000%.
You think?
1,000%.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't think maybe they spoke in the tunnel?
Mm-mm. What's Rodgers going to come up and say?
Do you think they have beef?
I think.
Do you think the beef's real, or are they just kind of poking fun?
I think Aaron's uncomfortable with the situation. I think Aaron opened it up, and
Travis handled it like
Travis
a pro.
was like, whatever, bro.
Travis was like, fuck it, I'm taking care of my family.
You know, and also
keeping people safe.
Whatever you think about that, I'm not here to talk to you about that. I mean,
Travis has just been awesome this whole year with all the coverage.
But they were on the same field. You want to debate him, walk right over there and debate him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was fly on the wall. That was kind of interesting.
That was the Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Okay.
I wish I could do the Shane Gillis stuff.
Fly on the wall would have been the interior offensive lineman for the Giants when the check comes in before the half. And they say, we're going to run it. We're going to run it here. 13 seconds on the clock, no timeouts. You get an opportunity to score in a game you have no business being in.
We're running the ball.
We're going to run the ball. My initial reaction is, fuck yeah, let's get in. But then, after the play, when you're on the ground and there's a scrum, and nobody's being held on the ground by this defense. You know what I mean? You know, there's some savvy defenders that'll hold somebody down that will, I got to cramp and roll on your leg. That didn't happen.
No.
There was no sense of urgency.
You just couldn't get up.
Giants.
You couldn't get up.
So that's my hollow man. That's my fly on the wall. That's my anti-game ball. Was that situation?
Yeah, that was bad, Kyle.
Yo, I got a fly on the wall.
Okay.
I want to be a fly next to Jameis Winston talking to Alvin Kamara to see what he was being animated about talking to him.
Jameis.
Derek Carr throws an interception, but when I do it, lose our minds.
Yeah, that's why he probably came over and was
everybody
like,
loses their
can
minds.
you believe this shit? Look at this motherfucker out there.
He seems so entertaining.
Oh, he's great.
Alvin Kamara's just like, yeah.
You're right.
Kamara's face, like, you know how
Alvin Kamara's doing the Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah.
He's just like,
dude, I can tell if I'd like somebody just by reading their facial expressions sometimes. And Kamara's reaction, I was like, oh yeah, I think I like this guy.
For sure.
Like, I don't know what was being said, but I'm with you, bro.
I love it.
And then we've got best seat. Shit, man, all you London fans, you keep showing up, dude. Like, we're trying to grow the pod in the UK, all right? So if you're out there and you're listening to us on the airwaves and it's, midday there? It's like, no, it's not midday. It's afternoon. You guys are listening to the show. You guys keep showing up, man.
There was a report that they might try to host the Super Bowl in London soon. How would you feel about that?
That's fucking treasonous.
No, see, I'm going to zag, Kyle. Why is it treasonous?
Well, first off, it's the National Football League, made up of the United States of America.
Have you heard about expansion to London?
Here we go, Chris. Here we go. This is where we also have a difference in opinion.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. I don't think it's fair to the guys that are going there. And if they are going to go there, you have to compensate them as such. You have to handle all the logistics for these guys. And if you're going to talk about bringing the Super Bowl, they're
already doing it.
People
Kyle.
say this is our Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl. We want the Super Bowl to be played in the United States of America. It's our highest pinnacle of sports competition.
We put the Super Bowl in fucking Dallas. They had an ice storm. We put it in New York. It was freezing out there. It was like dog shit.
I got something to fix all this.
I like London. I like London for the Super Bowl. I don't like it for a franchise. I like it sometimes for these games because they're fun to watch.
They could be the first hologram game. At some point, they're going to be able to mimic the exact game, put everyone in a stadium in London, and you test it out there first.
That's interesting.
And if it goes well, boom, 2 games at once. You get fans in the stands.
A Toy Story Super Bowl, mate.
I shouldn't have used the word treasonous. But I'll say this. It's something that we have a tremendous amount of pride about is our game of football. And we get a tremendous amount of disrespect from folks across the pond about it. They say, you can't even call it football. Well, this is football. This is American football, and it should be played on American soil.
I get it, Kyle. I get it. You're a red-blooded American. You want it here. I just don't give a fuck. I'm watching it on TV or I'm traveling. If I get to travel to London for a week to do the Super Bowl, that'd be kind of fun. I enjoy playing there. I mean, I don't like the time zone thing, but I think it's a cool city.
I can already see the sleep nightmare ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a little bit nightmarish.
Kyle, you got a best seat?
Yeah, I have a best seat. I do. Travis Kelce was at the game. Did you see him? He was wearing all green.
Yeah.
Sweatsuit, trying to blend in. See, green field, you wear green to blend in. Travis Kelce understands.
Yeah, he does.
He
does. He almost caught a ball.
You know what else he understands?
What?
Obviously some other stuff because he's with a GOAT right now.
Obviously some other stuff.
Obviously some other stuff.
But she didn't come to the game.
But hear me out. They went to dinner in New York City. He went and did, he was there for Saturday Night Live, I believe, and then he went to dinner. And did a little research, thanks to Kate, my wife. She's a Swiftie. She's also a Kelce fan. And all the pictures of Taylor and her love interest, they may be holding hands, but they're never, grasping hands.
They're never interlocking.
Mm-hmm. Travis Kelce pictured last night with fabulous interlock, multiple points of contact. I might give him the game ball for that. They looked fabulous together, walking into dinner.
You're gapped out, Kyle. You're gapped out. You've got,
He dropped the
Leave
ball,
no
though.
doubt. It's 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point. Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
He dropped the
he's
ball,
got all
though.
points on the GOAT.
He dropped the ball. He should have wore a 0 jersey.
Stop.
Oh, come on.
Corny.
Should have wore the 0 jersey.
All right,
man.
we got one more thing. Game ball, right? STL Memorial. That's gonna go to Kyron Williams. I had no idea, dude. I don't know. Didn't see you run for 3 feet, but I know you ran for a lot, and I will watch that game. Okay. Game ball for me goes to the Bengals D line. I think you could tell how passionate I was about their performance. It's fun to watch when a group takes it upon themselves with their backs against the wall. They've done it multiple games this year to show up at home. They were dominant.
I'm going to give the game ball to the Jets defense. You know what I mean? As a unit. I'm just going to maybe I'll cut the ball into 11 pieces.
Cut it into like 22 pieces because they got good depth.
22.
Yeah.
That's it. Game ball, Jets D.
What if they gave you a ball that was cut up? Remember they said they're giving the defense a game ball? You're like confused. Like, what are you going to?
Just leather strips?
Yeah. So you got any STL Memorial or are you going to hit the road?
Man, I'm good. I mean,
Okay,
STL
sweet.
Memorial would be, how about PJ Walker?
He almost got the game ball for me. That's so cool. Hey, I'm going to be going on Rich Eisen's show in a few. I want to give out an America's Team lastly to that broadcast group. Really just Rich. Like Rich was tremendous. Rich is great in the booth. And it's like he doesn't even do it all the time.
Lamar!
It's so funny.
He's great. He's got great energy.
All his metaphors are like on point, and he knows how to let the game breathe. He seems like a good teammate up there. I'm not just saying that because I'm on his show on Mondays.
He is good.
I think Rich did a tremendous job. And like every Sunday we watch and listen to people on TV, talking about the game, and this guy doesn't even do it, and he's as good as anybody. So I want to shout out Rich.
And Mark Sanchez. Great job.
Oh, Squanch was back home.
We love Mark Sanchez.
He was talking about Jalen Hurts being a salmon covered in Vaseline.
He's unbelievable.
Like, what's going on?
How does he get away with this?
He's like, he's like the weird RG3 with the metaphors.
He said he's like a kid lost in a grocery store. There's nowhere to go.
RG3 will try to be super relatable. He'll be like, yeah, that's like a Pikachu, like
I love RG3
or something like that. Yeah, it works for you. I do. I like RG3 too.
He makes me laugh.
But RG3's metaphors are like he's trying to get everybody.
No, but I think
and
it's
Mark
like,
Sanchez is just like whatever's on my mind.
I think he
He's
leans
like
into the corny,
joke.
joke. I think he leans into the corny joke.
RG3?
thing. Yes.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good to have Squanch and our peers out there. All right, everybody. I got one more ad read, and then we're gonna
Monday Night Football. We got
Monday Night Football. We still got to talk about Monday Night Football. Monday is still game day, and game day is the perfect pizza day. So make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL part of your game day. Order online during our Pizza pregame 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day Sunday to have your NFL game day covered. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. It's a pizza win. And speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends, order your Little Caesars, and enjoy during the games.
Who do you guys like tonight?
Who do I like tonight? I like
Dallas at the Chargers.
I like the Chargers.
Yeah, I love them.
I like the Chargers. And I'm not going to overthink it. I mean, like, Chargers are perpetually disappointing, but so is Dallas. These two teams are like the teams that trick it off.
This comes down to who I trust more.
Who wants to trick it off more?
This one comes down to who I trust more.
I trust Justin Herbert more.
And I trust Justin Herbert. I trust Justin Herbert, and I know that this Cowboys team is finding out a little bit more about themselves. And when they lost Diggs, people say, well, that sucks, you know, and then they moved on. And now we've seen that the defense is affected massively by that loss. And for Dak Prescott, you have to remember, with all the scrutiny he's under, he was a 4th-round pick.
Oh, he's had an amazing career.
You know what I mean? Like,
I
catch myself beating him up, and I'm like...
But none of that shit matters, though, Kyle.
I know, but it's like you can't look at him in the same light that you're like...
Yes, you can.
We beat up on Justin Fields. You know, he was a top pick.
But it doesn't matter to me.
I understand that, but I want to keep that in mind when I'm like, Dak, you can't throw 3. It's like you weren't the number 1 pick. You weren't the highest paid free agent.
That was 3 contracts ago.
I know that.
Yeah.
But you're always the same guy.
Yeah. No, I don't think so because Jared Allen, Max Crosby was a 4th-round pick.
You're right.
And Trayvon Walker's a 1st-round pick.
But then again, how many people do you think just look past Max Crosby because he was a 6'8" dude out there?
A bunch, but nobody's looking past Dak now. Dak has to make plays, and I think for Dallas, I totally get what you're saying because he has had a great career. I think most people really respect Dak. But then you got Dante Whitner being like, he sucks. Like, and
that's wild.
You know, like, yeah, it's a little wild. But what I will say is he hasn't been able to get him over the hump, and I don't know if tonight's the night.
Cowboys is the team, though. I think tonight is a night that everyone's kind of going against them, and they'll be the team that find a way to get a win, and everyone's just going to have to, like, walk it back a little bit maybe. But they're a team that looks like if they can fix the kinks, they can maybe salvage the season and be contenders.
They're elite. They're elite. They're sub-elite. They're sub-elite.
Hold on a minute. Okay.
They're sub-elite. They're sub-elite. They are contenders because of that defense.
Contenders. We love
They're like fringe contenders.
We love that word.
Because I think that San Francisco and Philly are better.
They do have worse Super Bowl odds than the Lions.
That's
just barely.
Yesterday when we talked about this, I put them in the Lions category.
Yeah.
I put it's Lions and Cowboys below.
Risky.
And then right below them are the Seahawks because they haven't showed up in the big moments like, yesterday. I thought if the Seahawks won that game, you can put Seattle, Detroit, and Dallas in the same tier. And then above them, those are the 2 like big dogs in Philly and San Francisco. We'll see tonight.
Facts, do you have a viral moment?
I do have a viral moment, and I am going to give it to a local Charlottesville reporter. Supposedly, she had her first day.
Oh, so good.
She had a tough task.
Was that her first day?
Supposedly, that's the backstory. She had the tough task of reporting on there is some sort of
There's a
circumcision protest
I can
going
take
on.
this. No, I can take this. Because it wasn't a, yeah.
and she had to report on it, doing her job, but her rolling into the next segment talking about local elections, she goes, now the erection.
With local erections coming up.
The erection election. And
They didn't say erection either. They were talking about circumcision.
Like my erection selection?
it's just
erection.
so
You like
the-
my erection selection? Y'all seen Paul Rudd and Wanderlust?
Yeah.
You're going to take it.
erection selection. But shout out to her. It's probably embarrassing a little bit, but on the better hand, nowadays things like that go viral, and that the news station, they're probably going to get the most clicks they got in a
You
while.
talking about uncircumcised penises going viral?
No, her clip.
Because honestly, they were out there, a bunch of dudes like, stop cutting the dick! Everybody was like, we got white guys in hoods downtown. They're like, not the KKK, uncircumcised dudes. And they're doing a news story on it. And the poor gal who just got on the fucking job, they were like, you got to go down there to town square and hear a bunch of guys talking about wearing hoodies is better. It's not.
Goodness.
There's a reason they've been
Thinly
doing that.
veiled.
No offense to anybody who's you know.
The
Anyways.
erection.
You know, you leave a fucking rug outside for a while. We pull it up. What happens? A bunch of
Magma.
So I don't know. I don't know respectfully what that guy was talking about. We thought the show was over. We're doing 3 minutes on circumcision. Okay.
Oh my god.
We we'll have a special guest maybe for you on Wednesday. That's how we'll end the show.
Yeah.
Maybe a special guest, a special show on Wednesday.
Dude.
It's a very special guest
Special guest.
for
Yeah.
a special guy.
Wait.
Steve.
Oh, I thought we were having the circumcision guy on. Isn't that how he said it?
I know. I tried to.
Like it's he's
Yeah,
like,
you're a sicko.
well,
You guys are sickos.
you guys found the guy in the
Okay,
cowboy
okay.
hat who's screaming about foreskin on the fucking downtown
I gotta
mall.
go pick up my Whole Foods.
All right, take it easy, and y'all take it easy. Come back Wednesday. We'll be doing our thing with Stanford Steve. Take care.
Like,
Thanks, guys.
comment, and
Like,
subscribe.
comment, subscribe. You know
Thanks
that.
for being here, John.
Run the algorithm up, guys.
All right.